Eh già. Il 10,48 dice, vabbè, vediamo qua. 8. Funziona tanto. Questo qua, ok. Beh, nel frattempo aspettiamo. Insomma, sì, vabbè. Abbiamo visuale. Quindi se non sbaglio ora è bloccato. Già, è bloccato. Ormai manca poco. Vabbè, nel frattempo meno 3 minuti. Dai, che dopo questa sicuramente la squadra italiana andrà in Corea, dai. Io ci credo. Io credo nell'Italia. E poi abbiamo Manny che spacca troppo. Già. Uno spettatore, interessante. Ah. No. Dai, che tra poco inizia, manca meno di un minuto. Manca meno di un minuto, ragazzi. Ci siamo, dai. No. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 e iniziamo questa avventura, dai. Secondo. Finale europea.
Welcome into the Brawl Stars Open here in Europe. My name is Finch, and these teams have been battling for weeks through open qualifiers, all to make it here to our regional finals. And remember, they're trying to earn themselves a ticket to make it to Seoul. To help me break everything down, I have Dave Dolson Olsen right here next to me. And Dave, I mean, this is a huge culmination for these 8 teams. A lot on the line.
Yeah, I mean, we've been battling out technically over the last 8 weeks, but every other week. So 4 weeks of qualifiers up to this point. The top 2 teams from each region, each of those weeks have qualified themselves into this bracket. And so in theory today, we've got the 8 best teams from each of these regions going toe-to-toe. The top 2, they're punching their ticket to the World Championships in South Korea. What a day.
That's exactly right, man. And really, up until now, there have been some weeks where, I mean, we got to be honest, some of those early matches haven't been quite as maybe competitive as you might have expected. It took down to semis or quarters, sometimes like that, for us to get really big matchups. That's not going to be happening this time. I expect right out of the gate in quarterfinals, because it is going to be a top 8, we'll be having some really big matches just immediately to get things kicking off.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of regardless, you would think. I mean, obviously, seeding-wise, you go top to bottom. as you look at the format that we've followed out here. Stage 2 is where we are, so the best teams in each region will battle it out to find the winner. So, but you're right, though. Even if you're looking at the top seed going up against the 8th seed, in theory, that's still a very close matchup. The skill gap between some of these teams, we've seen it be pretty big over the last 4 or 5 weeks, but all of these teams realistically have a shot at punching their ticket.
Exactly, and you get to kind of prep coming into this one, knowing what your matchup is, making sure that you are as caught up as possible. It's a lot different, I think, than just going into like a weekly one week and going, hey, we might win $200 this time. Now it's like, we got to buckle down. We're trying to win a trip to make it all the way to those finals that are going to be happening in South Korea, exactly as you said. So I do think we're going to be seeing the best of the best from some of these players here too. And there's been, a couple of shakeups in there. Sandy's out there, right? So we get to start wondering what exactly we're going to be seeing from this new brawler here as well. I do expect him to be getting banned a good bit, but then that might mean more 8-bits make it through. What do you think we might have a chance to see here today?
Well, that's always the case sort of in any game. You introduce a new brawler, in this case, to the pool. Maybe that takes the seed of 8-bit in the ban column, or maybe 8-bit stays banned out and Sandy comes out. So that's really the dynamic I kind of look at is does Sandy take the place in that ban column of one of the two that we're used to seeing, whether it's Rosa, whether it's, BB in some circumstances. I am excited. I hope we do get to see some Sandy today. I think that in the right scenario, Sandy is a very, very good brawler.
I agree. A lot of people out there think Sandy quite strong right now, so we'll see if some of these top-level players agree. The first match is going to be PSG up against TKS. Oh, and sorry, no, you are not going to get to see any Sandy this time. It does mean, though, you're going to get to see some 8-bit, though, because Piper has been banned out. I think the Piper ban actually makes a ton of sense. So often, she dominates the meta as your damage dealer in your team because she's so good from range.
I mean, especially if you're going up against... And this is kind of to your point. We're getting into matchups now where the players themselves on each of these teams are really well known to one another. You have players in these games that are probably very well known as Piper players. So the potential is even further there for these top 8 teams. So I agree. I don't mind that Piper ban at all.
It'll be 5 set matches here at this point. We'll be starting off in Heist, specifically on Safe Zone. A lot of times on Safe Zone, when we do see this water, that's where we can see some Daryl start to come out. We'll see if that ends up being the case here this time on Safe Zone. But like we said, remember, 8-bit's here. He can do well with the range, place that damage amp in aggressively. And instead of just sitting around talking about it, we can move right to the action. I already saw some pixels. We know there's a couple of 8-bits out there here on both sides. And it looks like 2 Brocks as well.
Yep. A couple mirror matchups to go out. And this is just who's better at the game at this point. I mean, the matchups in theory across the board from one another are all going to be the same. And I expect to see Brock a lot in this set now that Piper is banned out. He's kind of that next high-poke brawler in this case. So not surprising, in my opinion, to see him on both sides.
And then, of course, the tech there as well for both these teams. His super can also be quite impactful. As right now we're having a bit of an early battle to try and control some of this mid-space. Ide is going to move up to try and find some space here over the wall, but with Semantic dropping in first, that should mean that PSG control a good bit of the center space, and they do. Tick damage already getting in onto the safe.
They have to back off, and so often in this game mode, you see the team that's just forced back right at the beginning has such a hard time fighting back into that mid-range of that map. Some effective trades from TKS are going to get them back into this mid just a little bit, but fighting back behind that 8-bit damage amp is going to be so hard to fight into.
It really can be difficult, and like you said, it's so much of Heist, especially on this map, does come down when you can't get over those pools to this center control. It does kind of create this choke point as Twisted Twick does him getting dropped, and now some much needed damage coming through from Plex as this Brock drops some damage over the safety again. And this is big, using the super there to break open some of that barrier on the left hand side, takes out that choke point I just mentioned.
Yeah, it opens up just one more lane that PSG are able to attack from now. They are just free and clear to start chunking away some damage. Damage super is being traded out here. It's like extra life for Skyrix, whereas Semantic is running that extra large super for 8-bit there. So a little bit of a dynamic difference. TKS can afford to play a little bit further away from their 8-bit. Whereas Skyrix is forced a little bit closer to his teammates, leading 52 to 76% for PSG. Put them in a pretty good spot. Chunked out just a little bit. A 9% difference is not a lot in this mode.
It's not. Usually, we rarely see them be this even, so it's already giving you an idea just how close it is. As Plex willing to trade his life there for some damage, wasn't fighting much. And Twisted Twig just kind of walks down unchecked and unloads here onto the safe PSG. Now way out in front. Twisted Twig able to back up now and just play defense. They've already gotten exactly what they need. A lot of pressure now on Plex. Plex to try and find some damage, but Skyrix not going to give him the opportunity. The super not enough, and that's enough for PSG to take this first match.
And the battle of Poke comes down to PSG this time around. Twisty Twig just had a little bit of extra uptime in that 8-bit damage amp super area where on a Brock specifically, when you're able to poke out that much more effectively, I mean, PlayX for TKS so often was not fortunate enough to have that damage boost.
Agreed.
So the mid-range kind of poke battle
Vittoria
was just in
meritata,
PSG's favor pretty much that
Ovviamente vittoria
Yeah, and it's
meritata.
wild. Twisted Twig, when he broke that wall, he was willing to step past that space pretty reliably, which meant essentially all he was doing was trading in open space with the opposition, just kind of trusting that he'd be able to hit a little bit more damage than on the opposite side. And he was right more times than not. That last push that he makes, like I said, that's like a lineman where no one blocks him pushing in, right? Like he just made it all the way into the safe and was able to drop a ton of damage. That basically sealed it for them with how close it had been up to that point.
No, and I like your kind of highlight of the wall breaking that Twisty Twig did, because so often you maybe scratch your head and you're thinking, well, that's like the entrance to your base. Why are you looking at that? But in reality, it just opens up so much more area for him to flow kind of to the left. EA was playing down on this right-hand side so much throughout this game, and you can see right at the beginning of this game, where Twisty Twig is forced back in towards the middle. So I would not be surprised, Finch, to see that left-hand wall broken open one more time as this game goes on.
Potentially be another interesting point as we move into this second game. It looks like both teams have agreed that the comps from last time were not the issues. It was purely execution. As YDE finds the first kill, Twisted Twig gets Semantic there as well. Already early advantage for PSG here yet again. As they do start to control some of this middle space. YDE got to buy himself a little bit of time. Damage up now dropped, but they end up actually losing the fight here for the most part. Semantic getting some decent trades, and so is Plex. He's bought himself a good position.
Twisty Twig just a little bit too far forward on those engagements, and you can't pass by the damage of 8-bit. One big volley from him will chunk down your health heavily, and does end up opening up that wall on the left-hand side here. So maybe see them aggress, and regardless of all the trades for TKS, the early poke damage onto the safe is all for PSG.
I do like, though, the idea of bringing this tick over here to the left-hand side as Skyrix gets really good damage onto the safe. That's going to make it harder for Twisted Twig to avoid the damage the same way he did last time up against PlayX in this matchup. But again, willing to come all the way in. Skyrix finds Semantics. Now Twisted Twig has found great positioning over the wall. Once the super's available, he can always drop it in, but PlayX gets punished. There's the super right back onto the safe, and it's a 46% lead now for PSG.
And I love that play from Twisty Twig to wrap around the left-hand side. It's forcing TKS to make a decision. Am I going to try to turn around and poke him out, or are we going to take a 3 versus 2 in the middle? It's kind of a losing scenario either way. You're losing safe damage, or you're losing the fight, whichever way you want to look at it. So well played there from PSG. Already halfway there to taking our first game mode.
Another nice tick super. Gets in a little bit more damage and opens things up. And the placements here from this 8-bit on the side of TKS, it just has not been quite enough on the super. Skyrix is doing such a good job of trading those out every time. And Twisted Twig has been such a thorn in the side of TKS. They can't lock him down. Finally, they're able to do it. But at this point, it's such a deficit. They're not going to be able to overcome this in time. PSG, I think they've already taken this very first map.
Yeah, I don't even know if you unleash a full barrage from TKS right now, there's enough time, and it's not gonna be PSG. Some calculated movements. Grab them, win number 2 in game mode, and set number 1 here. One game mode closer to moving on.
That much closer to being able to make it to South Korea. And honestly, if you're TKS, you got to just write that off as, hey man, that's not our map. You got to find something, I think, to say, because nothing was working for them, especially if the enemy safe ends at 100% at the end of that map. I mean, clearly, they just were not able to make it through space. And I do want to give a lot of the credit to Twisted Twig and the way he played on this left lane.
You know, I agree, and it's kind of echoing what I had mentioned before, where he is living rent-free in TKS's head at this point. I mean, they're saying, this guy's just going to hang to the left, and that's why you open up that left-hand side. It forces them to kind of consider which direction they want to look at, and then this is just a borderline defense. They realize there's no way they lose this game, so they're going to back off. But I agree with what you say. A lot of that is down to Twisty Twig and his ability to kind of shift positioning.
Well, now we move from Heist on to Siege. It will be Junk Park that we are on for Siege. And I like Siege. I feel like Siege is the kind of mode that feels like a nice equalizer. It really does come down to who can win their matchups in that 3v3 that's happening in the center. Obviously, you want to try and control the bolts so that you can start summoning the Siege bots. But so often than not, just individual skill could sometimes be a really big determining factor in which team's summoning more bots.
I agree, and I kind of, if I'm looking at brawlers, I think Tick's still plays a pretty big role on this map.
Yeah.
Just the space control is just kind of his MO. Toss out a few bombs, they spread and prevent the enemy team from moving anywhere. They're going to opt for the Barley from PSG, so still some good space control and actually the ability to really burn down some of those frontliners that TKS have. So I don't mind the swap at all. It's sort of burst damage versus kind of continued space control is the trade-out you're making there. And if Twisty Twig keeps hitting those bombs the way he is, I think they're feeling pretty good about it.
Both teams agreeing that they want to go with heavy frontline as one big damage dealer, but it is PSG that summoned the first siege box. It will be defense time now for TKS. He's going to be largely on this Barley, I feel like, to get in some good damage here to try and capitalize. There is the BB Super from Semantic to try and push back YDE, but it's not enough. Look at this damage coming in already. It's already over.
Li hanno completamente distrutti, ragazzi. Li hanno completamente distrutti. Ma di che stiamo parlando? Ma di che stiamo parlando?
Not that it's all on the Barley damage, but it's definitely enabled by some of that extra Barley. I think with the tick, they still likely would have been able to end the game in one siege spot. We're starting to see so much Finches.
È così, da quando hanno cambiato il gioco, quindi non dura più tutto quel tempo, è molto più veloce.
Nowadays, and PSG playing confidently here. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Actually forcing TKS onto the Barley as well, so maybe a different look for them.
Yeah, they're going to see if they can maybe punish some of these up-close pushes from PSG. Shelly can do so well up against these BBs and the Roses if she can get close and catch them without the shields. But even still, it's already an opening up kill for PSG. And remember, when these siege bots come in, it's so much more about the brawlers than the siege bots.
Yes. I mean, the siege bot is just pulling the turret shots away from your brawlers effectively. He does some good punching, but that's more when you get to the 8, 9, 10 level siege bots. Right now, it's about trying to peel away the siege bot from getting in onto your turret, and that's a good trade onto YDE as well. So now you only have a two-man push for PSG and a much better stall this time from TKS.
Yep. Twisty Twig is going to go in for some damage, but not going to be able to get anything close to what we saw happen there in that first game. And it does come down so much more to clearing out that opposing BB here, this time from YDE. A great call there from TKS. And I think PlayX is having a better time here on this Shelly than last game on the Bolt.
Yeah, and it's those frontline kind of matchups that you highlighted. Moving in, and he's able to blow up the wall there and blow up Twisty Twig. PSG, though, at 4 bolts here, are in a pretty good spot. If they're able to delay this one out, they're going to get the next one despite all of those mid-trades for TKS.
Yeah.
The space control, I mean, the burst is there from a Shelly, but this Barley on the backline, Twisty Twig, is just wreaking havoc.
He committed a lot of damage there to try and see if they could remove PlayX from this push, but they couldn't. That means this Shelly is still going to be here with a super in tow to make sure that Skyrix can't make his way in. Twisted Twig just got to settle for doing some basic damage, and it's certainly still potent. They're able to bring it down quite low, just not quite enough for them to grab the actual win. It just wants to punish him with a pushback out, but to just barely survive, which means that a 4-4 tie right now in terms of bolts, but center control for Semantic.
And that's so important that PSG were not only able to summon a siege bot, but get 4 bolts for themselves. Despite 1, 2, and 3 going to TKS, they're still very much in this one. Wow. So it's really going to come down to it. YDE needs to trade out with Semantic, grab this last bolt. I'm not sure they have enough. They might be on defense to try to save the game.
Yeah, Semantic went to the store and bought them this siege bot, though. What a performance from him in the middle lane to make sure that he was able to control that center space. And now it is time for some push. Now it's on Edge. Can he make the same kind of performance Twisted Twig Dad
I don't know if they have enough time.
YDE keeps him pushed back. Rosa comes in from Skyrix as well to get a nice kill. And they've got to make up a ton of damage. Down to 22%.
Mamma mia, ma che è successo?
To be enough from TKS on that final push to tie things.
Wow.
I guess in Siege, you get literally a level 3 Siege bot in round 1 that ends everything, or you go the entire distance.
Sure.
Down the road, that's just effective, bolt control, really, from TKS. Their one and only Siege bot was a culmination of every bolt they picked up throughout the entire game. And great defense. The fact that the first Siege bot that PSG had didn't get any damage onto the safe. I mean, PSG ended with 18% left on the TKS base over there. So if there was anything really coming out from that first Siege bot, I think we're looking at a different game. So a great first defense from TKS. And just good space and time control down the road.
I definitely agree. I think the Shelly is pretty critical as an adjustment for them on defense. That's what made it so much harder for them to push on that first siege bot, and then Semantic on the BB when they were trying to control the center of the map around those bolt spawns as well. So really well done, I would say, from TKS that time. Now we finally get to see PSG try and make some adjustments here this time. So far, everything they've done has just worked that first try. So we'll see if they do make any adjustments in terms of the actual brawlers, and it looks like no. They're just going to come back in and try to execute a little bit better this time. Meanwhile, TKS decided to drop the Shelly right back to the Bull.
I think that, I mean, it's an effective, swap, but kind of in the same vein. You want to be able to get up close and personal.
Much better.
The bolt charge as well, that's a super you have to look at. When he's able to drop his shoulder and open up the space for the siege bot just to move in a straight line instead of having to go around.
Guardatela,
That's the choke point that kind of kills some of these pushes. So I think a good swap there for TKS to open up some of that space.
Well, TKS was willing to trade a lot of supers for the mid control just now, but then couldn't win the battle when supers came back out from PSG.
Ci hanno
But still
tentato,
5-3 favor of TKS, at least in terms of right now. That gets evened up in a hurry. Skyrix right there to pick up the next one. PlayX trying to flank around to the backside, but catches the hands from this Rosa. Semantic now in some trouble too. Maybe super not bad, but still is enough for them to get back in control.
Yeah, Semantic actually charged up 2 supers throughout that little engagement there. Wasn't able to get any of those kills. So you're using so many resources to just try to force back PSG. Skyrix on this Rosa is a big difference maker here. The survivability has just been too much. Now you got a level 12 siege bot. We've seen it done with a level 3. They might feel good about this one.
It's doing its best to try and keep Twisted Twig zoned out, at least make him pay some HP to make it in, but Skyrix finds Semantic. That is the BB. They don't have to worry about. Twisted Twig does make his way in, and there's the Barley super.
Oddio, li hanno massacrati.
And PSG grabbed the win.
Yeah, I mean, I think there was no doubt in my mind once it was not a level 3 siege bot to end the game at a level 12. It's big, it's purple, it's angry, it's charging down mid. I mean, it's an interesting map to kind of watch the dynamic. Like right there where the bot was at the very beginning of this clip is
Grazie nuovo spettatore.
They also got a kill from Semantic PSG on their kind of ingress. And it was a 3 versus 2 effectively on defense from that point on, or 2 versus 3 rather. And that one brawler difference was enough to not really give them a chance.
No, it definitely set them down quite a bit. I think that they did not get enough from the TKS Barley as well, and as compared to what Twisted was able to do that set. But that was set 2 here under your favorite, not in particular, we're in Bounty, but not just Bounty. Everyone out there. It's Snake Prairie. Go ahead and let me hear it.
It's Snake Prairie. All right, so I'll give you the pitch because some people, it is an elevator pitch. So it's the game modes when it's not let's run around in or let's bash heads for one another. It's kind of a delicate dance of let's roundabout one another in a circle and then eventually we'll combine and have this big fight.
Non c'è bull.
Not surprising to see you get that extra vision while in bushes.
Hyper
actually on this map usually is a favorite. Banned out though this time around, not going to get that extra damage boost.
Guardate, è bellissimo.
For the, or rather, Brock for the Roses, the big difference here. So a little bit more poke from PSG, more front-facing engagement when the teams do finally collide for TKS.
I do think this puts a lot of pressure on both Semantic and Skyrix.
È il rischio. Certe persone chiamano troppo il rischio.
On this map in particular, once you do get that information, but YD won't even give you the chance. They know where PlayX is as well. Time to push him out. PlayX pulled back in by the magic hand from Skyrix. That's nutty. And they're able to find themselves a significant 7-0 lead. PSG played like monsters just now on that right-hand side.
The poke differential has been huge here for PSG. They're slowly kind of whittling them down. Then a good magic hand opens up the fight. You're going to get a couple bow mines for the kill onto YDE. So now a kill on a Twisty Twig actually ties up this game.
This now puts so much pressure on the TKS start putting in, and they had the read on where PlayX was yet again. This Rosa has had no room to operate here just so far. I don't even know that we've gotten to see the super used offensively yet for TKS either. It's mostly just been relegated trying staying alive. It's in some trouble to bow in open field trying to dodge and duck, but can't quite do enough.
YD sta facendo una partita incredibile, non per male.
But still
Poi quel Brock è spettacolare,
PSG are going to be thrilled that they're 5
nulla da
star
dire.
carrier.
Brock tanti complimenti.
One of the other 2 members of PSG gets caught by a magic hand. If Twisty Twig is able to stay further back and not die throughout the rest of this game, they're going to win it.
This is good positioning for Make, but PlayX died too quickly yet again. Those bow mines are at least able to claim one in return, but with 9 seconds left, this has to happen, and it has to happen quick. But I don't know where this bow can go. YDE's happy to drop him. Some nice bow mines come through, but Twisted Twig is the only one worth anything. 22-9, PSG grab the first game.
And remember, this is a
comunque già passato a prescindere, giusto?
matchup, so not surprising seeing PSG do this well. TKS certainly in it, but the brawler differential is kind of where my eyes go in this one, and it's really the Rosa for the Brock, because Brock does so much poke damage. And remember, this is normally where you would see a Piper, where you get the extra bush damage, excuse me. But the fact that they're able to play so much further back here, just wait on those magic hands for Skyrix to get charged up, and then, again, Twisty Twick, he has the most stars on him. There was really no chance at this point anyway. But constantly fighting into a Brock is not a spot that you want to be.
Gem grab.
It's become so difficult for TKS here in this set. And as you said, I was not expecting the disparity to look quite this large here in this set so far, but already PSG find themselves on match point with a chance to close things out very, very cleanly. TKS, if they want to keep their hopes alive, have got to start battling and find something that can work. Same composition here for PSG. They've already grabbed an early pick. Semantic back on the Gene here yet again.
La bravura si nota in questo. Dio,
instead of the Rosa, yet another trade. 5-3.
Doppia kill, bellissima. Non belle squadre.
Skyrix has the first magic hand ready to go.
Ah, ma questo è bellissimo. Cioè, Brock in up spettacolare con questo nuovo attacco. Animazione veramente animazione spettacolare degli sviluppatori.
Not PSG, though. They want to go now.
They had the read and magic hand pull Semantic back to the Wolves yet again. And you were just saying it that so often we see the pace slow down there. TKS needed a moment to breathe, to collect themselves. They didn't even get it. PSG does not give you any moment for respite. YDE has to make his way back into the bushes. Actually avoids the super there from PlayX with 500 HP, but that extra damage is enough to keep him zoned out, and now just winning the trade in open battle, buying time for Skyrix to find the magic hand again. YDE's in that case.
YDE with the happy feet, Skyrix with the game-saving magic hand there, saved his bow. Almost certain danger on the right-hand side there. Good start here from PSG. Twisty Twig gets caught out, so now you're looking at a 2-star differential. Anyone dead for PSG will tie up this game.
30 seconds left as well for TKS to try and hold on here and not drop to PSG, who've looked so dominant here for so long. 20 seconds now left on the clock, and PSG really can't afford to play back and play careful here if they don't get too zoned out. Twisted Twig, they've got an idea. He's there on those left side bushes, putting in some damage with him, but he's far enough back that he's safe for now. 10 seconds left, and TKS have to make a push, but Semantic's too low. He's been poked out. That moves up 16-11. 3 seconds left, but they know where it is. 1 second left. It's not enough. PSG grab the win.
And I think that magic hand from Semantic was the last-ditch effort to maybe pull that game back. It was just wide. They only needed one kill, one 2-star kill to tie up that game.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he moved to...
Bella, veramente una bellissima partita del PSG.
Just for a moment where that Gene was, and they were able to poke him out, and then you're fighting 2 versus 3, kind of trying to fight into invisibility at that point. So well dodged out. We saw some moments of happy feet there from PSG and helped save the game.
It absolutely did. This bow on the right-hand side from YDE
Rivediamola.
Just takes up to an even higher level, man, for this team. He did end up getting picked that very first time, but the second time back around where he was able to buy some time for this Gene to get in position to pull this magic hand and really punish PlayX there. I mean, he was just trying to confirm that kill.
Yeah, and Semantic there. I mean, if you're able to get kind of that 3-star trade, you know,
hanno veramente un'ottima squadra, non che l'TKS sia una squadra inferiore, perché comunque ha dato anche prova del suo sapere, ovviamente. Bisogna essere dei campioni per vincere.
We did see kind of the defensive playability from PSG where they pulled all the way back, and from that point on we're just safe throughout the rest.
And there was just a level of confidence that PSG played with there as well that was hard for TKS to match. So congrats to them as they move on throughout the rest of this bracket. Going to give you all a quick rundown of what everyone's fighting for. Now remember, of course, you are trying to make your way to South Korea, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit of cash in your pocket when you make there. First place is 1,500 overall. Second place, 1,000. Third place, 800. And fourth place, 500.
That took me by surprise.
Yeah, I heard it.
It's what, like 600, 300, 200, right. 200 or something, or 150, 150, maybe like $50 a person for fourth place. Now you're equaling the first place total effectively, give or take, from the previous few weeks. So big money, not only as you said, a ticket to South Korea, but
tra un po' ci sarà l'eliminatoria del Clash.
Not bad at all to be able to make it up to that fourth place. So this obviously does add, I would say, quite a bit of extra pressure onto it. So not only are you fighting to try and make it to those top 2 spots, that's how you make it there, but at the very least you want to try and be third and fourth to get into the money. But we still have plenty more Brawl Stars coming your way here in Europe. It'll be a quick break. We'll be right back.
Non sono cactus. No! Corvo match. Na 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 na. Beh, ancora abbiamo anche Eros Elite, i 3D Max. I 3D Max sono veramente forti. Anche Clash, la squadra Clash è bellissima, bellissima. Na 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 na. Vediamo. Turi 20. Niente disponibile. Bene, effetti. Un secondo che...
It is semifinals time here at the Brawl Stars EU Open. Welcome back. Hopefully, you all win the left after that exciting first game we saw in the quarterfinals. My name is Finch. I'm still joined here by Dave Dolson-Olsen, and we're going to stick with PSG. And why not? I think after that dominant performance you just saw from them, we'll get a chance to keep following them along.
And I mean, these are just seedings-wise your tournament favorites to move on through here. So, convincing performance, 3-0 fashion in game number 1, and that's just how dominant we kind of mentioned pre-show that maybe some of these matches are going to be closer, and in reality they should be just by default. But PSG, just kind of as a history of the team, have just really been dominant throughout this entire qualifying process.
They've been strong, and even with a little bit of extra time, at the very least, one team were not quite able to keep up with them, only dropping one individual game throughout the entire match. Let's take a look, though, at the entirety of the bracket here. As we've already said, PSG won their first matchup against TKS. We bid adieu to them. Russian Elite, in similar fashion, took care of 3D Max, and Q-Lash also were able to take down
Max 3-0, non ci credo, 3D Max eliminata.
Over there, PSG,
Clash
Russian Elite,
Clash
and Q-Lash, all 3-0s over their opponents. So now you're looking at where you might get some really contested matchups. PSG versus Russian Elite, both cruise through, win number 1 here in the regional finals for Europe, and I'm excited to watch these two teams go up against one another. I think the matchup is going to be pretty close.
Yes, this is arguably the two most important matches as well, right? Because the difference between being a between making it to the finals and going out here is South Korea. That's the difference, right? Is getting to go on this trip and getting to play in the finals. We do have the bands down here for you, Piper and Sandy, yet again. Remember, of course, you do obviously play between first and second place prizing, but I think that you'd be okay to lose a little bit of money if you still get to actually take the trip.
I'd be okay with that. I think that would be just fine with me. Sandy and Piper bands, I think that's going to be the trend that we see continue throughout the day, which is sad because I want to see some Sandy, but it just, I think, bodes or is indicative of where Sandy is at right now. I think as a brawler, he kind of fits anywhere in any game mode, depending on how you want to play it. It really allows people to group up. Imagine a pairing of an 8-bit and a Sandy, just drop down the damage amp, fight inside that stealth, and you'll be happy.
Well, in the semifinals, we start with Siege, followed by Brawl Ball, which is always a ton of fun, so we'll guaranteed get to see that one in the second set. But we'll start on Nuts and Bolts. A slightly bit more open map, but some really well-defined lanes. Means that those 1v1s yet again are going to be important. Or what also is important in those matches is if someone like a Tick or some of these ranged ones can get a little bit more damage over into one of the other 1v1s as well. And then from there, you get your man advantage, push in, try and collect Bolt, and make a big Siege.
Play style-wise, it's actually very similar to what we just saw in Siege, and you're right to bring up all of those different brawlers. That mid-control, you want a thrower in some capacity on this map, whether it's the Tick. So much value out of the barley that we saw for PSG in the
super's
last
just
set.
too strong.
Because it really is. When you're able to move in, you have the extra noxious star power. And if the siege bot gets in relatively uncontested, I mean, that's a 20-30% chunk just from barley super in that case, and that's why we see him so often ended in Siege number 1. So I imagine composition-wise, you're looking at stuff very similar. BB, Rosa, maybe some poke in the form of Brock. You get some environment damage, but don't take my word for it. Let's see what we got.
Allora, Russian Elite giù e PSG sopra.
And the Rosa there as well. Only difference in these competitions is the barley for Twisted Twig, and we saw what Twisted Twig could do with it the last time he was on Siege. No reason to think he can't do it here again. YDE finds Jason early on. They win the early
I just think there's too much kill setup potential with the barley. I mean, he can chunk down people with just one bomb. And then if somebody's even remotely close from the rest of your team, he's in range to get a poke. Early BB bubble chunks down a little bit of the Russian Elite base, and the Siege bot starting to make his way. This is dangerous.
Yeah, this is really bad. PSG might be able to just end this one here with a 3-man wipe. They've already got the safe down to 62%. Just a matter of how much damage do they have. 20%. The Siege bot's gone. So they can just keep using damage. Twisted Twig is going to get what he can out. Down to 1%, 0 off of one push. PSG take the first game.
Finch. I mean, I think it's still the barley versus the Tick differential in this. I think Tick has its merits if you're up against like another Tick, but you're just missing out on so much damage, I think. And Twisty Twig knows he's going to go down here, but one more charge is all you need. And look at that as just an example. So you get 5% immediately just from your first barley bomb.
Right.
And then as the tick keeps going, the damage tick, has an extra almost 1,100 that you had on the back end of that. So you're getting 6-7% on one primary attack. There's just too much damage, I think, in the barley to forego him.
I agree. I do also want to say that I think Jason had 2 really bad deaths that game on the BB that time that really hurt them. He was the first one that died on the initial push. That's what gave Bolt control over to the side of PSG. And then he got caught when really it was actually a bit of a disadvantage for PSG. They just lost their own BB when they got the summon, but instead Jason ends up falling, and that gives them enough push to take the 3v2, get the 2 kills they need to do a 100-0 push on that save. So I think Jason's got to be a little bit more mindful next time about his positioning.
No, and again, I think that I like Tick on this map. I think as a brawler, it's a great pick. But when you're looking at some of the damage reduction that BBs are able to run, and you have that first charge fully charged up, YDE is not going to care about tick bombs on the ground if he's just going to be able to walk through them with a DR. Interesting swap here. You're going exclusively frontline for Russian Elite. And no thrower for them this time around. And that's why.
It's working pretty well for them, isn't it? They got Twisted early on. That bounce from Jason Super is able to come back to catch Twisted Twig on his way back in. And just like that, Russian Elite are the ones out on top. Now the question becomes, though, just how much damage they're going to be able to do with their siege bots if they get it. Now, if their plan is just to control the center the whole time, it might not end up mattering as the siege bot being slowed right near the very beginning. They're going to get very little damage onto the actual turret here this time.
PSG are in the lead damage-wise because of a BB bubble that went through and bounced out a couple times. So they're feeling all right after that one. Still a 3-point lead after the fact for Russian Elite. So they're in a pretty good spot as far as this mid-control goes. And Twisty Twig a little bit caught out here. Stop Rob on the right-hand side. It's going to be Jason with that BB super to seal that one up. That's why you pick 3 frontliners.
Yeah, with this draft, mid-control is going to favor Russian Elite every time because they just have too much beefiness. They can't shoot through it fast enough on the side of PSG. It's just a question of can Russian Elite actually do enough damage on the turret for it to matter. Yet again, Russian Elite is still taking damage onto the air turret here somehow. MA Russia does find a pretty critical kill here on the YDE. Twisted Twig is willing to drop the super here just to slow down the push. Now comes Jason's super on the BB to bring down the turret low. But even still, with all of that, they're only losing by 8%.
It is going to come down to one final one. Actually, PSG take the lead one more time.
Wow.
Thanks to some BB bubbles. It's a 1% differential, so this very much comes down to this final siege. Russian Elite have been in control of every single one of these capture periods.
And I love that PSG have just made the adaptation. Like, fine, we probably are not going to be able to win the actual spawn here of the siege bot. That is the super from Jason on the BB. And with that done, they might have just already lost. One more
it didn't go in.
It's not enough. You're right. Russian Elite some of the siege bot. This is going to be critical. PSG have to defend.
That was like half a second away from being a tie final siege, and then it's just 2 teams trying to poke out, in which case PSG would have been happy to save a barley on their team. Now Russian Elite can end the game.
They're getting enough damage. They're just diving in here with the bull. They've got the turret down too low. PSG, try as they might to hold on, could not do enough. It's Russian Elite to tie things up here on our very first set.
If that 6th bolt for PSG was picked up like half a second sooner, because the bolt flies in, and as it turns to 6, the level 6 siege bot spawns for Russian Elite, and then you're tied up. There's no siege bot at the end, so it's 2 teams trying to poke out one another's base.
Oh, bellissimo,
you're happy you have a barley in that situation, so maybe some timing, but complete mid-control.
Che emozione, ragazzi, che emozione, però.
The addition of a bull, the subtraction of a tick. I was scratching my head at it a little bit, but the sudden aggression PSG just weren't really able to deal with. They were kind of fighting 2v1 battles everywhere.
Right.
Getting those efficient trades. And that wins you games.
Yeah, that was just great recognition, I would say, there from Russian Elite, man, to make that adjustment with their draft. Now, if you're PSG, do you make an adjustment with your draft? Do you maybe keep Twisted Twig a little bit further back and then see if you can punish them when they come in for those trades instead with that damage off the barley? It's a really tough call.
Yeah, and this is kind of the intricacy of these pick phases where you don't really know what the enemy team is going in with. In a thrower versus thrower with 2 kind of frontliners, whether it's Rosa, whether it's BB, whether it's Bull, the barley has had the advantage throughout the day, but they were effectively mitigating Twisty Twig by forcing him back, getting some good poke damage. Actually, a lot of those BB supers were bouncing onto the barley, forcing him further back, and then kind of fighting 2v1 battle here, 2v1 battle here. So by the time Twisty Twick is the last one alive, the rest of his team is dead. So they're going to stick with it, I think, smartly for Russian Elite.
Oh, yeah.
PSG, I would assume, they're going to stick with the same thing, actually, probably thinking they can just change something up in the mid.
Yep, there's two schools of thought. Either it's a competition problem or an execution problem, and PSG tried to prove that it was execution. Look how far back Twisted Twick has been forced, but that's all he has to do, I think, is just recognize a little bit sooner in this matchup that he does have to see position more often, and then he can punish Stop Rob exactly like he's doing a level 4 spot. And hello, we've got the
io amo queste partite dove la competizione è alle stelle, ma wow, che giocatori, ragazzi. Che giocatori, bisogna dirlo, che giocatori.
Rush is able to get to the backline, though. It's so critical that he keeps Twisted Twick from making it in, but he can't get there in time, even with the shield. And that means that it's open season on the turret, and Twisted Twick starting to unleash. It's just too much damage, down to 12%, 8%, 4%.
4%, ragazzi, 4%,
if Twisted Twick just lobs the super, it's over.
And not even so, and yes, for Twisty Twick, even one primary attack from him will do it, but YDE is just going to try to charge up this BB bubble, because one BB bubble, get the bounce on the back, here you go, bounce on the return. That's way more than 4%.
PSG closed that one out. What an adaptation from them as well, and I think it was so critical how Twisted Twick positioned there that time.
Veramente una partitona,
because he was getting hunted down by that Rose.
Yeah, the adaptation to play further back, and it's just hitting a few of those primary attacks a little bit better, chunking down some of the front line, allowing his team to be able to do that. You see YDE and Skyrix combining for a kill there in the mid. Jason's left out alone. It works for Russian Elite until it doesn't. The moment you lose one team member, now you're fighting at a big disadvantage. And you got Barley in there.
Yeah, and Stop Rob overcommitted a little bit towards Twisted Twick on that very first push. Twisted Twick was able to land a super, and that super allowed him to kind of keep Stop Rob zoned out on the bull, gave a nice fight to his team on the other side that they were able to win without having to worry about that bull damage up close. It just really does come down to such thin margins sometimes on Siege in particular to be able to win and control that mid. So again, my hat's off to PSG as they grab the first set. And now it's time for some Brawl Ball.
Oh, I love me some Brawl Ball. So this is interesting dynamic where depending on what play style you want to have, you could definitely draft out your team much differently depending on sort of which direction you want to go. A lot of people favor themselves some Rosa, which we do see from Russian Elite here. A good Rosa super, and you can just walk it in. You don't have to shoot it.
Exactly right. Stop Rob and Jason going to be on the two frontliners here. Both teams agreeing that Poco's the way to go. One for Skyrix, one for Russia. But Twisted Twick on the Shelly, which could potentially punish that Rosa, kind of exactly what you were alluding to. If he does, we're trying to get up close with the ball. A nice Shelly super should end all that. Some aggression from Russian Elite already, though, as they kick the ball forward, but nicely handled by PSG.
I'm assuming both of these Pocos are going to be running Screeching solo. I think that's just too much damage to kind of forego in this case, where not only are you healing your team, but you're doing a good bit of cleave damage on the back. Twisty Twick drops the ball, gets the shot, and they walk it right on it.
Now, YDE and Twisted Twick played that so well, though, with that push. He's able to come along the backside, catch out MMA Russia, and it was really hard for them to defend from that point. That's what this Shelly does for you, too, is all this close-range damage. And now we have yet another battle. Remember, here on Brawl Ball, you don't necessarily have to go aggressive again. Two scores wins it, but really one score is enough if you can stall things out. As they find two, opening picks, Twisted Twick with the turnaround flick. And just like that, 2-0 for PSG win.
I love that. Sometimes you get a little taste of both here in this Brawl Ball, where sometimes you'll just get the I'm going to walk it in and score it, and then sometimes you get the I'm going to pass it around in like actual soccer style play. So PSG showing that they can do a little bit of both. And you would assume that a team after a big soccer club in Europe is good at Brawl Ball. They certainly are.
Man, MMA Russia just got manhandled there by YDE. Nothing by way of peel for him. And that's just a field day for any BB, especially one as talented as YDE. A nice, easy kill from here. And this is Twisted Twick. Just kind of giving him the business. A little bit Terminator style with the shotgun, man. Just walking it down.
I'm going to use the super, charge up my second super from that first super, and then use it again. No chance for Russian Elite. I love the addition of the Shelly into their team. I think Rosa's still a good pick for Russian Elite. I think Rosa absolutely has her spot here in Brawl Ball. The Shelly's such a difference maker, though. The knockback as well as environment destruction, a big difference maker in this one. Opens up different lanes, allows your team to move a little bit more freely, and really that's where some of your frontliners now can start to move forward, and the kind of ball dismount. I don't know what the word is for that, but when BB charges up her swing, it forces you to drop the ball.
Exactly.
And that's something we saw come to play a couple times there as well.
Yes, very, very strong performance there from PSG.
Comunque non porteremo soltanto questo contenuto, ci saranno anche altri video.
At this point, I still do not. Skyrex now in control of the ball, but YDE yet again, a man on a mission, clears them out with the super, and a score right out the gate. That's brutal.
I mean, we are 16 seconds into this game, and already a score. The displacement from BB is sometimes overlooked, but knocking back a couple just opens up the rest of your team to pass it forward. This could be a pass down to Twisty Twick and a goal as well.
It's already a score. It's already over. We're already done with Brawl Ball, ladies and gentlemen.
It's my favorite game mode.
We just started. We spoke for maybe a few seconds on the issue. I like Jason trying to switch over to the spike. That space control can be important on Brawl Ball, but the match is going to last a little bit longer than that for Spike to get some value.
Yeah, I don't mind the swap over to 8-bit, but you're kind of relying on your team to stay alive and poke out with that damage. Yeah, but he's too slow to really contest any of this.
You're right.
And Spike as well. It's just two completely different team compositions. More pokey, more fight back, kind of kill you one by one, find an advantage there for Russian Elite. And then the exact opposite, where I'm going to run at you, kill you all at once, or at least move you out of the way and move the ball forward. But as soon as it started, it's over, and PSG grabbed themselves some Brawl Ball.
And this is why PSG, I think, are so difficult to stop. It's because everybody on their team is an impact player, right? Sometime it was Twisted Twick on the Barley, right, when we were watching them play in Siege. Well, that time it was all YDE on that BB, man. He was a madman. The Shelly was pretty impactful, too. But now we move our way on to Heist here instead. And if you're a Russian Elite, you got to find something to try and slow down this momentum for PSG.
I mean, we are absolutely cruising here. I mean, I figured PSG were the team to beat here. But I didn't realize it was going to be this disparate, really. YDE just a straight-up fight win on the right-hand side over there playing some Rico. This is some free safe damage from him.
Tutti là sono, ragazzi.
Enjoying himself over there for YDE. Should be able to move in with the intergalactic elbow drop, but it's time to get started. PSG with this triple frontline beefy composition, and so far Russian Elite have not had an answer. You love 8-bit on Heist here usually, but he's been getting manhandled.
And on the defensive side, a little bit harder to stay alive behind the safe, but the galactic elbow from YDE on the Primo might just be the beginning of the end here. Twisty Twick in a good spot. A bull can absolutely end it from 10%.
Certainly can. Twisty Twick has the supercharge, dashes in, catches the hands, but all they need to do is open up for Skyrex to make it in on the Rosa, and just like that, PSG now on match point yet again to secure themselves not just a place in the finals, but a ticket as well to making it to South Korea.
Stanno ammazzando la qualsiasi.
We just started, right? Like, we just got here.
Sì, ragazzi.
8 minutes in, we stuck with PSG, and they are obliterating everyone. What a composition.
Ciao Guido, ciao, grazie di essere nella mia live, grazie.
Kind of the same as what we saw in Brawl Ball, where Russian Elite have the Spike and 8-bit again, a little bit of backline presence. They want to poke you down. They realize they might be on the defensive. We're able to trade out kills effectively. Then we start to move forward. PSG, on the red side of things, just have too aggressive of a team comp, and the picks have just been too effective.
Ragazzi, è inutile.
Especially when you have a bull, so much gap closing nature, whether it's the bull super or the Primo super, you can get in onto the enemy safe easily.
And look how well they're communicating as well. Twisted Twick comes down towards the safe, that pulls stop Rob back up, and back down to the safe, which means they suddenly have a 2v1 in mid, which they win, and then Twisted Twick gets some free time here on the safe. But I do like what we're seeing from Jason, where he's switching over here to the Shelly. This could potentially be a big, much-needed answer to all these beefy frontliners, but already YDE has the positioning that he wants.
Yeah, a little bit different, trading out the spike for the Shelly, and that really is what it is, just to try to compete with the frontline a little bit more, but another big bull super opens the door, but absolutely obliterated, especially in that 8-bit super. A great defensive tool when you're actually able to defend.
And well, they placed it just directly on top of their safe this time. If that's where PSG are going to be, then Russian Elite have correctly recognized it. But now Russia's getting a lot of time to just drop some damage here onto the safe. Finally, Russian Elite been able to grab a percentage lead for the first time. But I don't know if it's an actual contextual lead here within the match. Stop Rob, going to force him to come back and play some defense by dropping the super and handles Twisted Twick quite nicely. Stop Rob should have some time here on the safe.
Yeah, he forced Twisty Twick back, but Twisty Twick wasn't able to win that engagement, so some free time on the safe. In the meantime, though, YDE forcing MMA Russia and Jason to really split their focus. Get a good Shelly blow up there, but now you're very close safe-wise.
Still, if you're Russian Elite, you're feeling good. Stop Rob catches Twisted Twig yet again, but they have to slow down. YDE back up here now on the Primo. They've been playing it slow and steady, using these shotguns up close to punish. YDE uses the super to push past Jason. Twisted Twig wins his battle up close up against MMA Russia. Now he's here on the safe. Deletes Jason as well. YDE here for a little bit more damage. They've got the safe down low, but it's the same on the other side. Skyrix finally slows that push down, and Russian Elite regains a position.
Only 30 seconds left, a 6% advantage for Russian Elite here. If you can just stall out, prevent PSG from getting in, you'll be free and clear to at least tie up this game mode. But look for the Primo super, look for the Bull super, absolutely deleted. This Shelly's a big difference maker.
But stop Rob, he wants standard. He's made his way all the way back to the safe, but he can't do enough damage to close things out. YDE is here. They're going to do all 28% right here, right now.
Oh.
The super in to push everyone away. Twisted Twig can't do quite enough. Neither can Skyrix. Russian Elite hold on to keep this one going.
Wow, what a saving grace.
Wow.
Jason has been on that Shelly D. The blow-up potential was just missing in that first rendition of this
secondo voi
game
chi si classifica tra Russian Elite e PSG Esport in finale? Chi si classifica?
Okay with that, but you're going to get out-damaged a lot of times by these frontliners. Jason
Io
wants to be fought into.
è mezz'ora che ne parlo, ovviamente PSG proprio dall'inizio l'ho detto perché comunque ho visto un casino di volte giocare e ho visto che comunque resistono molto. Anche perché ora lo vedete, hanno un gran vantaggio anche se nulla è scritto perché siamo ancora a metà percorso.
And there were two things, I think, two moments that kind of stood out to me. One was that Stop Rob was able to do such a good job continually getting back to the opposition safe on offense to kind of stop PSG from doing that run it down mid strat that they like so much. The other thing was that there was a point where MMA Russia was able to get about 30% worth just sitting in mid on his own damage amp, pumping in damage onto the safe. That was critical too, because remember, what was that differentiation at the end? About 20% or so. So that push by MMA Russia ended up being huge as we go in for our final match here on Heist.
For the first time this set, PSG are the ones actually pivoting to the Russian Elite play style. Normally it's been Russian Elite trying to keep up, but realizing that their team composition just works. Is PSG, they're going to get some free safe damage here, forcing somebody to go back. You might just have a base race here if Jason's able to kill off Skyrix. This is looking really good for Russian Elite.
It is looking very good for Russian Elite, but they lost quite a bit of damage back there to YDE as well, and Skyrix has made it in. In fact, at this point, they decided to trade, but there's a damage amp down here for Skyrix on the 8-bit, so that makes it too much damage. YDE there as well, and PSG have made it out of the semifinals into the finals.
Wow, and what a
bella
gamble
partita
that. It's
PSG.
effectively the same situation on both sides. A 2v1 with one person defending, two people attacking. And it's one thing if you can just stay alive,
bellissime partite del PSG,
veramente
veramente
They
bellissima.
killed Jason, and it was a 2 versus nobody there. They dropped down.
Anche c'è da dire che Russian Elite però si è difesa abbastanza bene.
Halloween, normally you can't, but they got Jason this time, no problemo, right? I mean, it was very strong here for them. And what I think that PSG have done way better than everyone else, at least so far from our watching, is recognizing what their individual brawlers' value is in terms of where their positioning can go. Can they afford to not have them in the fight for a while to commit to a flank? Once we have our time to push back in, PSG have just had the reads here so far.
And these are kind of some of the effective trades. Move in first and just delete the safe from then on out. And you know, I'm the one who ends up at the end of this with egg on my face because I'm thinking, yeah, this is certainly where these matches are going to start to get closer. Everyone's 3-0'd everyone else, and
Vabbè, senza parole, senza parole.
Knotted up. This is going to be big to get into the money round. I don't know, man. We haven't gotten a chance to look at the other half of the bracket yet. I don't know if PSG are stoppable at this point.
It doesn't look like it, right? No one has shown us a blueprint, a weakness, a crack in the armor. We haven't seen anything like that yet for PSG here at this point, so it's going to be very difficult for whoever it is that awaits them in the finals. But, man, it's like I always trick myself. In the same thing like in traditional sports, when the Patriots make it to the Super Bowl, I'm always like, well, maybe someone can strategize against them with 2 weeks. But they get 2 weeks, too, and that's what PSG have been able to do at this time. They've really been able to prep and come in ready.
Well, and that's really what it is. The only thing that Russian Elite were able to get was when they kind of just out-drafted PSG. When they had a composition that just worked better, But then you see the moment PSG adapts and gets back into it and has at least
Me
an
l'avevo
even
detto io,
lineup,
l'avevo detto.
they're free and clear and they're going to win.
PSG,
just
secondo me,
dominant
ha
performance here from
un bel po' di
PSG so far.
possibilità
Hopefully,
per
we'll get a chance to follow
arrivare
along with them.
in
Actually, by
finale.
default, we will because they're awaiting whoever else will join them in the brackets. It'll be
Anche
another
perché
quick
ricordiamo
break.
che andare in
We'll have
Sud
the other side
Corea
of the
tutto
semifinals right after
pagato
this.
un pochettino ti spinge a vincere queste partite nella versione Sakura. Beh, ci vediamo tra poco, ragazzi. Dai, tra poco. Manca poco, manca poco.
Perché hai fatto lo spin?
Sì, dai. Sta arrivando il momento della continua, ragazzi. Uno. Eccoci di nuovo.
Welcome back, everyone. So far, PSG has been dominating in Europe. We're going to be able to jump down, watch the rest of the other semifinal to see who their opponent is going to be in the finals as we go through. My name is Gormizer. Joining me to kind of close out Europe here, at least is what it seems. It's going to be Dolson, Dave.
At this point, I don't know. You're fighting for whoever gets to or has to go up against PSG at this point. Again, I was mentioning to Finch, we haven't gotten to see really the other half of this bracket yet. We will be able to jump into the other semifinal and kind of get a look at where the other two teams stand.
Yep.
But at least from what we've seen, PSG are just miles ahead. I was for sure 3-0, 3-0 for everyone in the first round. This is it. This is where it's going to get close, and it was not.
It's transitioning from who can win to who can beat PSG as of right now. Sandy 8-bit taken off the board. The two newest brawlers, so not too surprising for them to disappear. But that leaves open a whole
Ragazzi,
ton of favorites that come through.
l'Italia.
BB Piper,
Sentite
who
l'odore di
have notably
italianità.
been very, very prominent, not only
Yes.
today, well, I guess Piper not so much, but just in the last few weeks
Oh,
of
che bello, ci
tournament
abbiamo
play.
vinto il
So,
primo set.
not too
È bello
surprising,
saperlo, è
maybe
bello
seeing him. But this
sempre
next semifinal,
saperlo.
it is Clash and Nova Esports playing up
Finalmente,
against each other. You can see
ragazzi, finalmente la
Clash
partita del
actually took
Clash.
the first set
È quello che
there,
aspettavamo.
2-0. So in the lead right
Quello che
now, we're
aspettavamo
going to have to
tutti
see if they
noi.
can kind of maintain that as we see where we get to go next. Well, you've been watching for a little bit now. It's going to be Brawl Ball,
Yes.
everyone's favorite game.
I love Brawl Ball, and I was so excited to watch it, and then PSG ended both within a minute both times, so maybe a little bit more contested this time around. It's
Quello
going
che
to be Super
sto-
Stadium again,
Dai,
and it was
dai,
the
Manny, facci
in-your-face
sognare.
composition that PSG brought out that really, I think, caught Russian Elite off guard. Just full-blown Shelly.
Ragazzi,
I think they had a BB on their
tutto quello che
side.
stavo
Like, I'm
aspettando
gonna
è stato
whack,
proprio
I'm gonna
questa
force
partita,
everyone to the
questa
side
squadra.
with the
Clash.
BB full swing, the home run charge swing. And then I'm going to pass it down to my Shelly, who's maybe gotten a kill down on the left-hand side, and then they're just going to walk it in and score. So there's absolutely some merit to playing like that, and it's, again, it's kind of that dance of you don't really know what the enemy team is going to pick, so we got to pick something that we think is going to win.
Voglio
But there
dire
are
che
ways to kind of counteract
comunque
compositions. Just
ce la
depends on
cava
what you
molto,
got.
giusto?
Well, we saw probably the fastest set of Brawl Ball that
Non
I've
c'è
ever
Manny.
seen at any point in time. Just from PSG, the
Yeah.
way they played it, the
Vabbè,
passes
però
they had, the
è
control
sono
over the
sempre
ball, and
forti,
just the
Clash.
field was impressive as of right now. It's kind of going back and forth between them. No first blood as of yet, but there it's going to be. Cerulean
Cioè, io
dropping
giocare
down, giving a little bit of
Trevor
control here
è
over to Clash, but
tremendo.
one-for-one trade, the
Trevor è
ball
tremendo.
kind of still hovering in the
Ragazzi.
neutral zone.
And an important trade from Spen there. If he actually got killed or Trebor was able to stay alive, that ball was moving forward to Chaos in the front line, and that was going to be a score for Q-Lash. So effective, big burst damage from the spike is what you look for to turn some of this around. A good super to maybe open the door. Cerulean doesn't want the ball there. He's dead, and now a 3 versus 2. A 3 versus 1 as Q-Lash look to score.
Couple of good kills, a pass over to the right, looking for the goal, but it's going to get caught there by Cerulean.
Ci
Going to be able to come
credo,
through
non ci
super
credo,
away
ragazzi,
as
non ci
well,
credo.
just to make sure the burn down is
Perché sono di
available. Ball
parte io,
still
sono
hovering
completamente
over
di
here on
parte,
the
ne rendo
esports
conto che
side
sono di
of the
parte
field.
in questa partita,
But
ma
it is pretty much right back in the middle.
Oddio,
Very, very good
oddio, ti
control, at
prego,
least
ti
saving
prego,
from Nova
ragazzi,
Esports, but it has
fateci
been almost
sognare, fateci
unrelenting force
sognare,
from Clash this entire
veramente.
time.
Yeah, and Clash is this is the play style that PSG had. The kind of big front line move forward, huge Poco
Oh.
super.
Non ci credo, non
nearly
ci
pushes
credo.
it in, but they're able to get the ball
Oddio, quello
out
che
of
è
his
successo,
hands.
cos'è successo,
Things back
ragazzi?
there in the
Ma
corner.
io veramente
Esports
non
in
ho
this case,
parole,
actually, I
non ho
think will
parole,
feel
che
okay.
difesa
A lot
che
of teams will
hanno?
throw it way back on defense, try to win the kills, and then move it forward. They do that on the right-hand side.
And it's the perfect spot as well. I mean, surrounded by cover, no easy way to the ball. And now they can move on forward, kind of pass it around, see where they want to go. The kill control, though, going to start kind of shifting out of their favor as respawns come through for Clash. They're going to be coming up, as opposed to the last Brawl Ball we saw. This one looking like it might go the distance. Spence is pretty low. Now it's become kind of the poke game.
And this is maybe where Nova Esports start to feel a little bit more comfortable. They definitely have a little bit more poke on their side just because of the spike. Gonna drop down the super. Clash. Bigger health bars, though. They'd be able to withstand, but it's not all 3 kills. Are for Nova Esports. Some good passes, and this might go
No,
in.
dai,
I
vi
mean, they're going to
prego,
be able to get it down.
ragazzi, vi
Cerulean
prego,
running
vi
it in. They've
prego, io credo in
respawned, so you got to play
voi.
this one carefully. But the team is around. A little bit of aggression and over 10 seconds,
Ragazzi, io
12,
credo in
11.
voi,
Now
io
starting
credo
10. The
in
timer is
voi.
on for you to go through if you don't want to go to overtime. Overtime may be helpful in this kind of position, but they're going to back off and get a kill.
That is a big kill. Environment about to explode. That's where Spen will
Good
feel
save.
very comfortable. Trevor steps in the direction of the shot, but it's a 3 versus 2 on defense.
Being able to pass it around, shooting it between the teams, and
No,
just threads
non
the
ci
needle.
credo,
Cerulean
non ci
gets a
credo,
score
ragazzi,
between
non ci
2
credo.
members of Clash, and
Non
Nova
ci credo.
Esports are going to be able to
Ci
take this
credevo.
one through. Just a
c'è un'altra partita alla
thin
fine.
sliver between those two brawlers.
And that final play there from
Dai.
Cerulean,
Clash,
kind of the micro
crediamo in
play. So
te.
he's Shelly and he has the
Crediamo
ball
in voi,
here.
ragazzi,
You'll
noi
actually be able to see it.
crediamo in voi.
So look out for it. He shoots the ball and then uses his super to force back anyone defending from Clash. So here's the shot. Super follows. Everyone gets knocked to the side. Nobody in range to contest the shot. That's why I love Brawl Ball. Any of those super, I mean, normally from Shelly, you blow open some environment. You follow up with some kills there. It's displacement really is the key to that one. I'm going to shoot, follow it up with an
Dai.
immediate super. and everyone has to move to the side. It goes down to overtime, so that
Dai,
one game was the
ragazzi, io
equivalent of the
mamma mia, che
PSG Brawl
partitona,
Stars
che
games.
partitona veramente,
But
che
Poke
partitona.
this time wins the day. The spike instead of the sort of that close range engagement, big difference maker.
And honestly, we're seeing maybe a little more equal
Yes.
skill between these two
Ragazzi,
teams when it comes down to, I mean,
mamma mia, che
the kills
partita. Cioè, stiamo
going
qua
back
per
and forth
fare
between the
clash,
two of them,
lo so.
as well as the shots, like the passing looking really, really good between the two teams.
Crediamoci,
Having Nova come
ragazzi,
through and kind of control it towards the end there.
Io credo in voi.
I mean, you had kind of said it when it came down to the Poke game, they were
Io
able to
credo.
play it a little bit more, and now
Dai.
we are even being joined by some fresh champions, although I still think what we're going to see is Poco kind of controlling it along with the spike poke damage.
Cerulean on the Carl. I love some of that. You don't get to see Carl all that often. Running the Hog Rider skin. I think if you're able to if you're able to play kind of in this area, what he's doing right there, if you can boomerang your shot off of the wall and it returns to immediately, you actually become pretty bursty there. So good trade from Cerulean. Respawn's just a little bit too unstaggered for Clash here. Guile caught out in the mid and moving too far forward on this Shelly, getting traded out by the spike on the Carl.
But being able to clear out a lot of the blockage between them and the goal. So if they can get control, maybe find some kills that'll look good for them. But they're going to be able to bounce that. It almost ricochets away with some respawn timers maybe playing against them. Nova Esports cut that one close, but still get the goal. Find themselves up 1-0. One more to win it. One to tie it up here for Clash. If they can just find that. But it seems like, well, one, the Carl kind of caught them off guard. That health bar being as big as it is, it's a little more difficult to burn through. And between that and the poke from the Poco and the spike, it seems like it might be too much.
You can see where there's some merit to a spike on this map into kind of that hyper-aggressive comp. If you throw out the super, you force them to peel back a little bit, you make them think twice about moving forward. Chaos gets a good super there. It's 2 versus 2 here on the defensive end. Guy looking for maybe one more trade. He's going to find it on the spin, but Tom gets a kill as well. On the right-hand side, Cerulean full health. He's going to be the difference maker.
Tom in possession of the ball, kind of running down the right side of the field, puts it pretty much right back in the center. They're looking for some kills. It's going to be traded 1-for-1. Guile around and gets Cerulean just low enough that there's not enough pressure here. If you are Nova to go through, but Spitz is going to try to walk it in. They're going to bounce it back and forth between the two of them.
Mamma mia,
Trevor
ragazzi,
Ainsworth, holding on as best he can.
Io la vedo male, eccole volto,
A
Dio.
little bit further forward there.
Prego, Clash, ti prego, ti prego.
Maybe try to tie this one up. Guile with the shots off the side. And that's a 3 versus 1 on defense. And with how contested this one's been, it's going to go to overtime. I'm
Cioè, che
not
emozioni,
sure.
ragazzi, che emozioni che
Five seconds
regalano in
left on the clock
Clash.
before overtime starts up. Going to make it a lot easier for everyone involved. Low health bars here for Nova Esports, but they're in possession of the ball. They're going to shoot it. A nice catch from Chaos, but it's going to leave there in Trevor's favor. Guile's going to take it and playing precariously close to their own goal. Toss it into the corner, kind of keep things going. But low health bars all around make it a little precarious here as a whole for Clash.
That's a good super. Clash, Chaos specifically, can't walk out of his own base. He would get absolutely deleted. Gets the first pick onto Tom. Traded back, though, with Spen. 30 seconds left in this one. Ball still in a bad spot if you're Clash. If Spen is able to get in onto this, try to maybe pick it up, get a quick shot, and turn things around. Now you're on the defensive end, and the map is flipped.
I mean, being able to find just a little bit of aggression here at this distance, you can absolutely find yourself a goal.
That's big.
Going to be 16 seconds left as it counts down, running it down. Cerulean's going to make the shot and nails it right into the corner and is able to grab that one. Grab game number 2, grab the set, and win all of Brawl.
Our first non-3-0 of the day. At very least, if one of these teams wins out, it's a 3-1.
Yeah.
So more contested here
Ciao,
in this
ragazzi,
semifinal
ciao.
than we had seen previously. But tense moments, 2 kind of different team
Però,
compositions. Both have the spike,
che
both have the
emozione,
Poco.
ragazzi,
But the
quante emozioni hanno
you don't
regalato
often
questa
see it, but
partita,
ends
dai,
up being a pretty big
sinceramente.
difference maker. The protective pirouette, you can see that yellow orb around him right now, 40% damage reduction when he's in his super.
Mamma mia, perché
So in a
squadra,
way,
che
he's kind
squadra.
of that frontline aggression in those moments where you can pick and choose how you want to play him. You're throwing out the boomerangs, getting some good poke damage, but then can use that super very aggressively into that damage reduction, realize you're not going to get insta-gibbed, and can buy some time and buy some space for the rest of your team. So I really like the Carl pick up there.
Well, now we're going to be jumping over to Heist. Sandy Gems is the
Trevor è
map.
spettacolare.
And
Anche
this has
come
opened up a lot. I mean, we've seen some varying strategies on this.
Yeah.
A little bit of Primo coming through,
Non so
Bull,
se avete visto
as well as
anche
BB kind
le
of being prominent.
altre,
And
le
this
altre
is a map
fasi
where, I mean,
della
kind of poke
competizione.
rules all. If you can get something either over the walls or if you can just find the right angles, maybe just go unnoticed if you're lucky enough.
Yeah.
You can walk through and very easily see this. We've seen a couple of kind of like base races in this today.
Ci vuole
And
qualcuno,
it's really
un bull che ti sfonda,
the
che va a
or
cassa,
tug of war in this game mode where
e distrugge
sometimes you'll
tutto.
get the hyper front line. We saw a primo bull baby
Mamma mia, che
composition
fastidio,
earlier,
ragazzi.
and that is
Non vedo
we're
l'ora
going to use
che
our supers to just jump on your base over and over and over again. We know we'll probably die for it,
Terzo
but
set.
we're just going to over time force you to play defensively. We're going to get straight up just more damage onto your safe. And sometimes that pays off, whereas on the other end, you
Ma
mentioned
secondo voi
you
chi
can sometimes
vincerà
play pokey, you
lo-
can counteract some of that. It really just comes down to
Chi
if the
arriverà in
poke is able to
finale.
find enough of that damage effectively versus if the front lines get those supers charged up and are constantly diving on the safe, then they start to win.
And that's going to be, I think, the biggest kind of play we've been seeing. We also saw a lot of Brock
Grazie
earlier.
per-
He was
per
very,
la
very adept at kind of bursting these things down. If
Seguitemi,
given
raccomando.
the opportunity to go through, I mean, that super can come through. And it's just,
Alla
it's
fine non costa
such a
niente un
significant
segui, è
difference in
un
chunk
piace
percentage
questo
that they
video,
have.
ragazzi,
So
grazie.
a lot
Mi
of
presto soltanto
brawler
un enorme
opportunity,
piacere.
a lot of
Grazie,
brawler kind of
veramente,
versatility
veramente grazie.
throughout this one. We'll have to see what exactly everyone could be bringing. But taking a look at Brock here, again, that rocket does a lot on its own.
Yep.
And then you add that damage per rocket in the super with how much he shoots is enough to just barrage down and just
E la
demolish.
pioggia
Yeah,
di-
so I mean, with Brock, you're
Ma
getting
bellissima la pioggia
the
di
environment clearing, as I
proiettili.
like to put it, with the super, with the rocket rain, of course, but also a good chunk of damage coming out of that. So it can be used sort of both ways. Whether I just want to open up some space, we've absolutely seen it used just for space clearing, but also confirming kills. A lot of time that's in the bounty gem grab type game modes. And there's some
Mamma
flexibility
mia,
really
dai.
with star power, whether it's rocket number 4, which just gives you that extra
Non
fourth
vedo l'ora.
shot of ammo with your primary attack, or
Giuro,
incendiary,
se arriviamo in
which is
finale,
usually what
ragazzi,
people
e
run.
siamo in
You get that
Corea,
300
arriviamo in
damage per
Corea
second
del
spot
Sud,
down at the back.
veramente.
So in a game mode
Porterò
like Heist or like Siege, where
un'altra,
you're trying to destroy
un
something
altro
on the
video
enemy
così in
side,
live.
normally people run incendiary just for some of that extra tick damage on the
Spero
safe.
che,
But
che andrà meglio,
yeah, Brock, I
ovviamente,
mean,
perché
it's
comunque
kind of that
è
delicate
la
dance.
prima
Am I
live
going
che
to pick somebody
faccio
too
questa,
pokey and they're going to be playing somebody too
infatti
aggressive?
ho fatto
Just
tutti
gonna
in
have to
fretta e
pick something you think will
furia.
be universally
Spero
good
anzi
and
di
hope that the enemy
migliorare.
team doesn't counter you.
And that's why changing and kind of
Grazie sempre
adapting
per il
throughout
vostro
the set's going to be
sostegno,
very important. You
ragazzi.
only have
Grazie.
2 losses that you can take before everything comes down to you, but they are, you know, looking like they could potentially close this one out. A lot of, again, a lot of versatility that can come through from brawlers, but we're going to be able to come through and watch what exactly these teams are going to be able to accomplish here. It has so much that can go right, so much that can go wrong. We've seen this tick damage, as you were talking about. I mean, not specifically incendiary, but we've seen tick damage matter a lot this time around. I think the most important might be Piper, but Bull just making a run on the side already.
And again, this is the kind of dichotomy that you get where Nova Esports looking to play hyper-aggressive,
Trevor,
use that
povero
ball to
Trevor.
get into the base. Trevor is going to be able to counter out some of it, but Clash has such a poke composition. They have the Spike paired with the Piper. So if Spen is able to get in onto
The
Guile,
Piper.
that's going to happen where too much damage from the Shelly onto the Piper. But if Guile's able to kite backwards, get some good kills, then things start to tilt. So it's really honestly situationally dependent. Only 2% for Nova Esports, but technically Gore, they have the lead.
Well, they're going to be able to just bust through,
No,
bull
ragazzi,
rush
uscite,
down
ragazzi,
anything
bravi,
and
bravi.
everything there. He's going to trade his life there slowly and
Ragazzi, vi
to
voglio
be
più
able to
attivi,
get rid of
ragazzi.
some of that cover, but it might make it a little bit easier for his spike now.
Trevor, sai
Maybe
che
run
fare,
down the
Trevor?
side and have some progress. Guile going
Vabbè.
to destroy chunks in the
Piper
middle of the
si è
map. And with Spen
liberata,
going down, that's going to give him an
visuale
advantage.
così
They're going to go in and start
è
getting some more percentage
spettacolare,
down.
ragazzi.
It's already
Che
64%
Piper
here for Nova
vuol dire che
Esports.
comunque
They
conosce
find
le
themselves a little bit of a
caratteristiche del
defense.
suo
Chaos
personaggio,
has done a good job of
perché
just keeping
vi
Cerulean
giuro,
at
una
bay
volta è
because
successo,
a free shooting bull,
stavamo
especially with
giocando
that kind of
a
10%, that low health, 40%
del
HP
genere,
is his threshold on the super. You
una
get either reload speed or
rapina.
damage reduction. This
Era
time it
una
looks like Cerulean's running the
rapina gem,
DR.
avevo
So he's able to stay
dato una
alive the more you chunk him
Piper
down. So being able to poke him out,
che non
allowing him to stay
distruggeva le
further back,
difese
or forcing him
avversarie,
rather to
ragazzi,
stay further back is Gone very well for Clash up to this point. Very close, safe-wise.
Effettivamente, o come ci ho pensato io, o con un altro personaggio, se mica il mio personaggio, almeno distruggo le difese avversarie.
But it's going to get chunked down and become much larger here. Spike going to be able to throw that out. A lot of good
sono
damage, 20% and
sono campioni normale che
if you are Nova Esports,
sappiano usare i loro
be able to get a good
personaggi.
zone, which is going to stop some of that aggression. They have to play with their backs against the wall. 30 seconds left. They need to get aggressive now if they're going to do so. And they just don't have the same spin going down. It's going to be a lot more difficult. Bull will pretty much have to go big with the spike to make this work.
Yeah, they're going to need Cerulean to get that super
Guarda quella Piper come distrugge, ragazzi. Ma come distrugge quella Piper?
Some of that damage reduction, not
Veramente,
enough.
non ho parole.
Clash is going to run away with this one. And look at this, right at the end of the game. So Clash is going to win, but look how open that side of the map is. The point being, if the map remains relatively undamaged, then that's sort of somewhere where that aggressive in-your-face composition is going to work. But the entire Nova Esports side of the map was pretty open and so much free safe damage. You don't sort of initially think of Piper as that big safe damage in Brawl. Absolutely is if you're able to play far enough back at the full amount of damage from those primary attacks.
Well, one of the things, like, Piper was using her super specifically to help clear out parts of that map. Definitely being able to give them that chunk of lead they needed, that nice wide open space. Facilitated everything. Bull helped out clearing out those around the safe as well. Now, we'll see if they do it again. If they don't fix it, so they might just run it back.
Yeah, and that's sort of a lot of the reason why Piper gets banned. I mean, such a Swiss Army knife of a brawler, whether it's space clearing, whether it's kill confirming, whether it's safe damage. There's so much that Piper can do depending on how you want to play her. And I agree. I don't know if you changed too much now in your draft phase. I think that you're forcing Nova Esports to try to kind of predict what you're going to do. I think if I'm Nova right now, I'm assuming they're drafting the same thing on Clash's side, and maybe you add a little bit of poke to your team, and it works, but again, it works if the environment, if the map stays intact, you're able to fight them kind of in their face on their own turf. And that's how it was going at the beginning of the game. And then the map starts to get whittled down a little bit more wide open, and that's where Clash takes over.
And Nova, they were able to poke down a little bit more. Like they got into position a few times to get that safe. I mean, 45%, they were able to knock it down by 55, but it just, as the game shifted, the length of it, as the map shifted along with it, that dynamic aspect of it, really just made it difficult. Like, Bull had nowhere near as much cover to run to the other side of the map. The same thing for the rest of them. They couldn't get Spike in position to find any poke. And even though they had maybe a little bit more, there's something to be said about Piper just killing you in front of them and running you down the other, like the old-fashioned way, I guess, instead of having to maybe slink through the sides of the map.
We got to see, like you said, literally both. We saw an early game where the Shelly was destroying Guile on that Piper. And then in late game where Piper was just absolutely blowing up the Shelly.
Piper things.
So big difference maker there, and snappy sniping Piper's super, I imagine, is what Guile was running there. You can run an ambush, but the way that they are playing, where you destroy so much of the map, you're not going to have a lot of extra damage within a bush because you're destroying them all.
Le mie squadre le sapete ormai, è che le nomino così tanto, già le ho nominate in questa live cazzino di volte.
Whenever you hit an enemy with one of your attacks.
Yeah.
So
le uniche due squadre per cui ho attivato, ovviamente, in queste partite.
You get that fourth extra charge.
No, perché comunque io credo del loro.
Well, there's a lot, I think, that can still break through things. And this is actually where it comes down.
Italiano non può non
Piper available,
ragazzi.
I would probably glance over Brock, because that's like one of the big talking points we had earlier was the fact that with Piper taken away, it kind of made it maybe more appealing to go for him. This time around, no Pipers.
Okay.
So you're going to have 2 Primos, 2 Bulls, 2 Spikes on both sides. Very much akin to what we saw at PSG earlier when they were able to win. So Cerulean with Chaos Tom matching up with Guile on the side, and Spike versus Spike, good old-fashioned in the middle. First one's going to go to the way to the shower.
Yeah, and you had the Bull versus Primos on either side, and Bull is kind of standard going to win that matchup. A little extra poke range by the time the Primo's able to get forward and counter you out. You've already taken too much damage. 85 to 85, so even safe-wise. Chaos Zoning out Tom here on
Ragazzi,
the
ma
left.
guardate questa nuova skin di El Primo.
Fully with the super,
Con la
he doesn't. Tom gets the kill.
remodellizzazione, come è venuta bellissima.
Honestly, on the top side of
Se
the
proprio
map
gli
as
occhi
well,
rossi si
there's
vedono
still some
un
safe
piacere.
damage being chunked away. I think they were able to trade out on defense, and now we're back to even, back to both
Spike,
sides. Much more close range engagements. You'll have some poke from your spikes.
Meraviglioso,
Now
meraviglioso.
you're going to try to close the gap with your supers like that.
All right, here's going to be the destruction commencing on the map. A lot of things getting taken away here. But it's going to be a 20% lead for Nova Esports, which is not
Secondo me
too
comunque
far-fetched
devo
from what they
rimanere
had
comunque
last
la
time.
Viper.
Now you're going to have to
Viper
figure
è
out if you
Viper,
can do
ragazzi.
too much with it. Gal going to be able to
Viper
dash
è-
in, destroy some walls,
Viper è
and chunk that
Viper.
one down. Now they
Anche
take
se,
the lead
anche
in
se,
control of the
ragazzi,
safe health.
ragazzi.
They're finding some pretty good defenses here as well. Primo versus Primo. Well, the one with more health is just going to win that.
Yeah, it tends to be pretty standard. We're all fighting at power level 10 here, so if you have more health and you're doing more damage, things are going to come up in your favor. Important trade there. Chaos went all the way into the Nova Esports base, and they were able to, Tom was able to at least trade that one out. So big swap there in the middle, and it's actually very close. A lot of this has been defensively from Clash, and then maybe one person's able to move forward and get some safe damage. Big fight here in the middle. Could decide the game in theory with 30 seconds left.
A lot of low health bars here for Nova Esports. They're going to have to do whatever they can. Trying to hide Tom's incredibly low, but they just ignore him right now. They're going for the save. Chaos going to die down because of that one. 28% left there. Going to be chunked down a little bit more by the spike. But it's left it wide open spin. Going to be able to get aggressive with Cerulean. They might be able to get some good poke.
Cerulean getting a kill as well. 15 seconds left. Clash in the lead by 10%, but they're on defense. Big spike super drops down to pull that back just a little bit. Chaos is going to use the super to try to widen that margin.
Oh, it's going to be a base race. 18 to 11. 4 seconds left. They're going down and down 2%. One more shot would have done it. And they win it by one. Nova Esports get just the right amount of damage at the very end there. If you had 1 second more of life,
Ragazzi, non ci credo.
See Clash walking away with this one. Nova Esports being able to tie it up 1-1. Keep themselves afloat in the set right now.
I mean, at that point, you're gambling. We don't see the ammo charges,
parole,
but
ragazzi,
in all reality, that could have come down to
Ci
one
credevo
of the two teams.
veramente,
Obviously, Clash
ragazzi,
on the
ci
losing end of
credevo.
this one. This
Per
could have just
cuore.
come down to
Did you have
Clash
the
just
shot?
not having that one last bit of ammo, because really any brawler in the game is going to do at least 2% of the safe damage. They only brought one. They had two back on the defense fighting against two. So it's sort of a 1 versus 1 and a 2 versus 2, and just quicker melting.
Cioè,
2 damage dealers greater than 1 in this case. Not
secondo
by
me
much.
hanno
They did have the
sbagliato
lead going into the
a
end there.
togliersi
But I think in reality that
Piper.
could have come down to
Beh,
just
ma
one ammo charge.
comunque con Piper c'è
At the end of the day,
quell'amore
that's the
odio
difference it makes right
ovviamente
now.
da
I mean, if you are
giocatore.
looking to qualify, if you are looking to
È
go to Korea,
un'assassina
you
proprio
have to
provetta
keep things like that. Again, not only in mind, but you have to have the wherewithal to maybe commit a little more.
dai.
Although I think at any point, if you send one person in the
c'è
wrong spot that
di
game,
partita.
there's a much larger margin coming down in that percentage.
Dai,
Still
un'altra,
being
dai.
able to end it, at least tying it up right now. Nova Esports keeping it through. Whoever takes this next one will take the set. So for the last time, we'll plunge back down into Sandy
Dai,
Gems here.
l'ultima rapina,
See which of
ragazzi,
these two
l'ultima
teams can
rapina.
continue moving forward, at
siamo
least break
già
the tie that is so far.
Un bel
this match.
pezzo.
It's important. I mean, whoever
Ritorneo.
wins this one is going to put themselves on I'm going to Korea point. You know, if you move yourself into the finals, you book your ticket,
Mamma mia.
and then you're fighting PSG for that, seating spot. You're already in the money at this point. You're just fighting for a little bit
Mamma mia,
more
raga.
of it. Opting for
Dai.
these same compositions here. It was as close as it was last time. Both teams will feel comfortable about running the same thing. Maybe some positional adjustments. You are going to go Primo versus Primo on the right, Bull versus Bull
Il
on the
primo contro il
left.
primo.
Guile shoots first. Guile
Dai,
kills
dai,
first.
dai.
Guile's going to do damage first.
Dai, io credo
Tom
che
is
dai.
left pretty
Mamma mia,
low
vai,
over here.
segnato il primo.
Kind of left to the Sharks as well. Guile's going to be able to get in
Attenzione.
and get out, it looks like. One more shot will kind of close him down, 336.
This is
Not a lot of
dangerous
health
now.
for him, but it is a 35%
Attenzione,
lead
ragazzi,
so far.
attenzione.
Finally, some return damage getting dealt by Cerulean here. Dumps all of his ammo into the safe, but they're zoned out. It's 50% to 81.
Yep.
Nova, I mean, they're
Attenzione,
trying to get
ragazzi,
aggressive. They're
attenzione.
doing whatever they can. They're just not finding the same damage numbers.
Yeah, the trades. That first bull trade, honestly, from Guile, he was able to
Bravissimi.
get the first burst of
Attaccate,
damage out,
attaccate.
get the first kill in the game.
Il primo
Onto the enemy bull, and everything's been dictated from that. Cerulean was forced back to try to defend. Tom as well was moving forward. Spen had to decide where he was going to go. That one first blood
Mamma mia,
tilted this map
ragazzi,
really in the favor of
difendete, vi prego,
Clash.
vi
Cerulean
prego.
dashes in, gets some good damage.
Bravi, ma.
Only enough to shorten the gap, but not take
Mamma
the lead
mia, mamma
here.
mia. Andate in
Like
attacco.
last game, Nova Esports finding themselves a good offensive stand here. Spen just trying to poke out Chaos.
Cioè, ragazzi,
looking for some of that
ci siamo
passive
fatti
healing.
recuperare.
And a good defensive stand from Clash.
Yeah,
All'inizio
3%
eravamo partiti
between these two
proprio
teams. Clash is doing a great
benissimo.
job at holding it back. Cerulean now in a
Non ho
position
parole,
that
non ho
might start
parole.
making a big difference. 2,000
Aia,
health to him,
aia,
but he's
fa
going to be able to get some
male.
damage dealt while he's being chased around. And with Tom getting aggressive as well, yeah, Chaos is back on the safe. It's actually dealing a lot. 22 and falling 17%. It's a race once again. 4% here for Clash. They're going to still be dealing damage up top. They have 1% left. It's 4-1. Whoever can hit the safe next is going to be able to come through. Trevor gets a kill. Trevor gets the splash.
Wow.
And Trevor is going to be the one who helps his team take this one. Clash go up 2-1.
Quello che aspettavamo, questa vittoria.
2-1 total. And now
Dai, 2-1, 2-1. Ora
one more game mode
away.
can come
se non
through.
erro ci
Potentially
dovrebbe
change things for them.
essere
What a difference maker this one
Jim
is.
Grab.
Trebor moves forward, and this is curveball.
Se non erro.
1% left on that safe, and you're going to get this wide arcing curveball shot.
Che belli.
Just seals that one up. One of those little barbs from his primary attack connected.
Che orgoglio,
onto the
l'orgoglio
enemy safe,
italiano.
and That's
Questo
all they
sì che è
needed.
orgoglio
Now we
italiano.
get Bounty to try to decide whether you're going to Korea or whether we're forcing this one.
No, vabbè,
To
non
a
era
set
giro,
5-layer cake. I was like this one.
ricercati.
It really is divided, kind of 3 lanes down the middle. If you look at the red bricks, kind of divide left, right, center. But also the middle ground in the area. There's obviously the one middle trench, but the way the map kind of flows is you'll get one team.
E poi già in
If you're on the
grande.
offense, you're taking over the next level, so they'll move
sì, vabbè.
themselves kind of one row into the enemy
Ma
base.
fai
And they're
linea
fighting
tattica,
in that back free space, and it's really actually a lot of
di
fun to watch, kind of
mezzo,
the back and
un
forth.
bombardino,
Of,
un
layer
dynamite,
of layer
secondo
cake.
me
All right,
sarebbe
we're gonna be
perfetto,
defensive now. We're gonna move back
anzi.
to this layer. It's so much about grass, so
8
much
bit,
about bricks,
no,
so
8,
maybe
vabbè, anche 8 bit
some
si può
throwers,
fare,
environment destroyers, important to get rid of some of that cover.
Però può
Different
aumentare
flow
il
of the game than what you
raggio.
see on Snake Prairie here for Bounty.
Chissà
So
chi
it's going to be coming through.
giocheranno.
And this one, I mean, Bounty is one of the game modes that we see tends to go the distance because teams, one, they know how to play safe. And also, usually once you get
Però
that
ragazzi,
lead,
che
you don't want to risk
partite
anything. Like you can maybe, if you're feeling
bellissime,
really
non ho-
confident, keep going in. But
non ho
there's that point. I
parole.
mean, you had kind of mentioned it where you make that
Bellissime,
shift of like, we're
veramente.
being aggressive, we get the kills we need, we are up by, let's say, 5 stars. Back up. Like, we're just going to go ahead, go play defensive, see what we can do to
questo
hold on to this.
pronostico per questo
But
set,
this one is so much
ragazzi.
different from like Snake Prairie,
Cosa
where
ti dirà
the
questo set?
entire
2-1,
map is grass. Like, if
0-1,
nothing else, if you're
no,
down
0-2.
stars, you'll know where the enemy team is. You
Oh,
don't
yeah.
know necessarily if he's in like this little slice of grass, like
Spiegate la
left,
vittoria di
right,
questo
center,
set.
or
Di
if
ricercati.
you know wherever he is. But you'll know in general where they are, and it's that kind of one sweeping, aggressive fight at the end of the game.
Yeah.
That sometimes turns things around.
Beh, in
If you're on the
effetti si potrebbe
defensive
giocare
foot,
anche
yeah, you're in the
il
lead.
nuovo brawler
But
uscito da
one big
poco.
aggressive push from the enemy team, especially
Sandy
when
con la
they
tempesta
likely
di
know where you're
sabbia
at.
è
Can
micidiale,
sometimes be,
ragazzi,
it's
è
a
OP,
double-edged sword.
è
Yeah, you're
OP.
winning, but
Per
you might be
queste
on the
mappe
back
è
foot.
OP.
And that's going to be, I think, the line you have to toe here. It's also one of those things to note, actually, with Piper going to be stepping in here. You can also just destroy their cover,
Yeah.
which we have seen in the past. It's not too uncommon to potentially have that come through. You look at Vilgarl or Spence at some point during this game could
la
just
proprietà
not have this
tattica
wall to stand behind anymore. Changes
è
the
un
flow
lanciatore, come l'avevo
dramatically from
previsto,
what
ci
you
sono
might be used
cioè
to.
era palese per
Tick is
una
good here as
Piper
well,
e un lanciatore in
the
questa
space.
partita.
Both teams are going to likely play this one very similarly. Nova Esports Spen
Sì, perché Piper attacca da lontano ovviamente può ammazzare. Ora che comunque appena si ricarica Piper, una delle due appena ricaricarono la ulti distruggeranno sicuramente le difese avversarie. Ragazzi, sicuro al 100%.
This is where Nova,
Sì, non si possono
they're going to be able to
nascondere.
absorb all
Sicuro al
of this pressure from
100%.
Clash. They're going to play a little bit more forward now, poke out just a little bit, and get a kill.
Aia,
Both of
aia.
those tick shots hit, put Nova in a great spot.
That's the biggest thing. Once you grab that first star,
No,
it's up to them to
ma-
aggress into you. You have the lead at that point, and so you can potentially find picks off of them getting too aggressive. You're going to have the headhunter running down. Going to get destroyed before it can come through. But again, cover taken away now from Clash. They're
Vedete,
going
così,
to have to
così.
be a little more careful. Maybe even have to
Così
fall
si
back here. But
distrugge difesa
they're the ones at
avversaria.
a 3-0 deficit. They have to get aggressive if they want it. They need at
Così
least 2 kills right now.
sanno dove sei.
Look at Cerulean. He has
Non
his
ti puoi
hand
nascondere,
on
ovviamente.
the super. He was aiming it. When that ring turns yellow, they're aiming their super. Both Genes have magic hand now. Neither of them are going to
Mamma
connect.
mia, mamma mia,
Both of them
mamma mia.
stepped forward. One of them looking for Chaos, the other looking for Spen. No poke just yet. 20 seconds left. And this realistically could end 3-0 if Clash isn't able to poke out a little bit more and set up a good fight for themselves.
Kill on to Tom would at least tie things up, but without kill on to Trevor, they're up 5 stars here. You're going to need a lot to turn this around. 7 stars here for Nova Esports as they just turn this one into a landslide victory for them. No one on their side is going to drop it. All they win this one 9-0 to put themselves up at the lead. Clash, I mean, a lot of that did come down to that first star, but it feels like you need maybe a completely different approach as to how you want to get into that fight. Compositions looked fine, mirrored all around, being able to come through. So it's not that, it just came down to execution.
It's more effective poke, really. Tom forced back Trevor so much, hitting a lot more of those tick shots. And then this is kind of that difference. We're fighting now back into our first tier of grass. You have to move forward across that middle no man's land. And then we're going to play aggressive even towards the end and just seal this one up. So first star, on a lot of maps is very important, but this map specifically actually sometimes plays a lot slower than like a Snake Prairie. What I'm so used to seeing like a very slow rotation on Snake Prairie, but more recently it's been a lot of poke, very aggressive, a lot of fighting. This layer cake map is really just poke and space control with tick.
Yeah. We'll have to see. Well, I'm assuming we're going to see some very similar, at least styles of play, if not just same brawlers that come through here from Layer Cake. On Layer Cake, I should say.
Vi vogliamo in Corea, vi vogliamo in Corea.
The biggest one, and also one of the biggest risks you could make stepping out to get that. If they are not sure of the poke they've thrown out, they're going to have difference. Also very big that the magic hand didn't scoop anybody that entire time. Both of them missed at the exact same moment, which doesn't happen as much, I want to say. I feel like that's an oddity.
And we technically saw 2 from Cerulean, one of them at literally the very end of the game and hit one of the respawners like immune shields. But you, in a matchup that's as pokey as this one is, you really only get one chance at a magic hand because you have to poke out, your shot splits up, you only get a little bit of supercharge from that as opposed to the full-blown shot from Gene.
Dai ragazzi, dai.
So you really need to make those magic hands count when you get them. You can see both teams still fighting over this mid, tick shots going out towards the middle area, preventing. It's really the Piper in this case, and Clash finds the opening, moves forward if he's able to get alive. Grande. First star over to Clash.
Bella partita. Both too low to really contest that. Trevor, just the switching up of Chaos and Trevor's positioning on this map for the poke has meant wonders for them. And that's Ruli and Tom are making the switch to kind of match their counterparts on the other team. Clash here with the advantage though. 1-0. 50 seconds left. There's still plenty of time for that to potentially grow or get tied up or even swung over for Nova. They have to figure out where that opening is. And I'd say watch the Gene more than anybody, or watch that.
Nice.
Trevor going to be able to get his head to bounce all the way to the back. Now finds himself up 3-0. He's going to be worth just a little bit more now. 3 stars for him.
And he's the only one that'll tie up this game, so he's going to play further back.
Senti che partita, non c'è altro da dire, anche perché comunque si vede che sono livelli altissimi.
Magic hand before Chaos does. That could be a difference maker. They know Trevor is back behind this wall here. Magic hand to maybe tie up the game.
And that could make the biggest difference. They're all backing up though, so you're going to have to get close if you're Cerulean. You have 5 seconds left on the clock to get in here and get some of these. Dom is incredibly low. They're going to be able to get some shots though. 3-2. They get the kill on the Guile. They don't get Trevor. And that means Clash are going to be able to tie this one up, keep themselves alive as of right now, although they wouldn't be facing defeat just yet. If they can win this next one, though, they move on to the finals.
They move on to the finals and move on to for Nova Esports to stay alive.
Hanno giocato molto sulla difensiva, ho notato, comunque nessuno ha voluto fare movimenti in più in me, proprio per non rischiare, ma sì, che partita, che
If there was
partita.
1 second longer on that clock, Trevor would have ended up dying there. He had 400 health. That's enough for anyone on that team to collect that bounty in this case. So perfect timing really for Clash in this case to pull themselves all the way back. And those are those tense moments when we talk about that sudden big flood of aggression. In reality, if that had happened just a moment sooner, Nova Esports realistically wins that game because you're trying to poke out and defend on the back foot the entire time.
Ragazzi, la vinciamo.
But regardless of anything I say, Clash finds themselves the win and are now 1 away from moving to the finals.
I think the positioning of Tom versus the positioning of Trevor is
No,
probably going to be the one
attenta.
that makes the biggest difference. As you said, Cerulean maybe not going to charge up that magic hand, or Chaos really, for that matter, are just going to have trouble getting that super online. It's going to take forever to come through for them because of the fact that they just aren't, they almost get no damage done really in these long-range fights.
Early poke. Now you might be timing like the enemy's
Dai,
reload.
ragazzi,
You kind of know
dai.
where they're at. You can sort of see across the lane when they're forced all the way back. And that's really what you're looking for here. All right, we know that Spen has used now 2 of his shots.
Ma di
Maybe I
vedere
can
giocare
move forward,
veramente allo
force back the
specchio,
Piper. This is
ragazzi,
good
no?
for Flash.
Cioè, una squadra che è
Spen is at
dall'altra
half
più o meno,
health. You know,
perché
you might be able
comunque...
to grab this first star. Guile
Sanno...
thought about it
Attenzione,
just
attenzione,
for a
bravo,
moment.
bravo.
Forced back. You know, I'm surprised it's not the Jeans moving forward. You don't have the same amount of poke, but you have 2,000 more health than anyone in the
Mamma
game.
mia, che...
So it's interesting.
Che partitona, ragazzi, che partitona, siamo ancora ai fatti 0-0, che diciamo che partitona, perché comunque si vede che nessuno vuole rischiare, ma... ci credo, grandi, ragazzi, grandi.
And that's been the big thing. Headhunter now out for Trevor,
No.
dealt with appropriately that time
Trevor,
around. That
hai
was what
sbagliato
gave them
tutto, hai
a
sbagliato,
more significant
lo
of a
dovevi...
lead.
Però dai,
Now with,
capita,
well, just a little
capita.
over 20 seconds left on the clock. No one has an advantage this time around in this third match. Whoever can make that first step, whoever can get up and grab that,
14,
is
13,
going to risk a lot,
12,
not only being able to grab
0-0,
it, but potentially
0-0.
dropping some stars in the process. 1 against the 2 that you are worth. Is it going to be worth it? Cerulean moving forward. They're dancing on the side. 3, 2, 1. He's going for the grab. He's got the 1, but still with the kill. Trevor making it very, very important there. Clash. Seal the deal on that one. Trevor, absolutely the star player as he closes that one out. Gets the all-important kill in the middle.
What a gamble.
And pushes them to the finals.
What a gamble. Cerulean moves forward, grabs the
Abbiamo
final star.
vinto,
That was kind of what
ragazzi,
I was
finalmente
wondering.
possiamo
So
dirlo,
now there's
abbiamo
the answer
vinto,
to my
siamo
question.
classificati.
Why wouldn't you just send a Gene to grab the final star? He has
Ragazzi, ci
more
tocca la
health.
finale.
And this is really why. You see Cerulean move forward. He's going to grab it, but takes way too much.
Si sente, questo punto è stato proprio
Will grab
esaustivo.
it, but look, 1 shot from Guile, 1 final
Giusto, ora
tap bomb
anche il gem grab,
is all they needed.
dobbiamo
So
dare
there's the
sempre
answer to
meglio,
my
giusto?
question.
Meglio
That's why you
dare
don't
il
send the Gene
meglio,
to grab the
ovviamente.
first star.
When he walked
Però
through,
questo
there
punto
was,
è veramente
just
una
a
liberazione.
lot of bursts in that
Veramente una
area. There was,
liberazione.
I don't think anyone would have
Una
lived through it. I think
sicurezza.
sending Gene was
Ci
your
voleva,
best
ci
chance
voleva,
because of,
ragazzi.
as you had mentioned, the health. But it didn't work out for him there. So now we can take a look at the bracket and see how things have shaken out for today so far. A lot of 3-0s. 3-2 there, Nova, over Brexit Vikings. 3-1 here. Unfortunately, they weren't able to
Eccola, la
continue their
finale.
own run
PSG
as
contro
Clash moves
Clash.
forward. Up against PSG
Ragazzi.
Esports next in the finals. And that
Ragazzi,
is probably one
siamo
of the scariest positions to be in so far
siamo
today,
in
based
finale,
on
la
what we've seen out of it.
finale, quella che
Yeah,
aspettavo io,
this is-
c'è stata.
Obviously, I was going to word that
Quella
pretty
che
poorly. It's Clash
credo che
versus
tutti
PSG,
speravamo
of
in
course,
realtà.
but it's can you beat PSG? PSG are
Yeah.
absolutely the
Per
favorites
dire che ora
coming
il
into this
PSG
matchup.
è
They've
tosta come
decimated in
squadra,
reality their
giusto?
opponents. Not only through the open brackets
Sappiamo
in previous
che-
weeks, but through
speriamo.
today, where
La speranza alla fine
you're
è
facing the
l'ultimo a
8 seed,
morire,
PSG is
ma
the top seed, so you're
si
facing
dica
the last
sempre
team to
Italia.
qualify
Così.
in. So you
Comunque
imagine
vada,
they're
alla
gonna win that
fine
one, but then
va
you
bene
get kind of a
così,
middle
dai
seed in
ragazzi,
your next
dai
matchup,
ragazzi.
still beat them 3-0. This will be the closest matchup they have.
Well, that's going to come through. It's going to be
Complimenti.
very interesting to see if PSG can continue maybe their 3-0 streak or just win it all to become your European champions, or if
Complimenti,
Clash
complimenti.
are going to answer back and maybe stop the hot streak of so far the #1 team in Europe. But for all of that, we're going to have to
Ci
see
voleva,
how it
comunque,
shakes out
ragazzi.
right after this
Se
break.
la sentite la finale proprio... Che bello. Boh. Vabbè ragazzi, ci vediamo tra 3 minuti. A tra poco. molto di stress adesso. Ragazzi, manca poco. C'è la finale. Manca solo la finale, ragazzi. Wow, wow, che emozioni. Che emozioni. Che emozioni, ragazzi, veramente. Non ho parole. Vabbè, dai. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
It is time for the finals now, as we're going to be jumping through. Once again, my name is Gormizer, and joining me for the finals here in Europe, as we see who can take it between PSG and Clash. It's Dave Dolson-Olsen.
That's right.
So far, it's been really, really interesting for PSG.
Yeah.
Because of how dominant they've been. It's been really interesting for Clash because of maybe how much resistance they've felt.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's sometimes just how teams match up. In reality, PSG have faced zero resistance, as you put it. And I mean, if we're going off of anything, because we haven't really seen these two teams go up against one another, it's technically PSG have not lost any sets, and Clash have lost a set throughout all of this. So, I mean, you give the edge to PSG, but Clash shows there towards the end that in those tense moments, if you look back at that bounty on layer cake, a couple of those games decided by like 1 second worth of time. One where they keep their tick alive in that back corner, one more second, he would have died. Then the last game, where Cerulean moves forward on that Gene, grabs the star, they're able to trade him out just at the last second in that game. So the communication is there, the teamwork is there. It's can you match the play of PSG, who have both of those things in spades as well. I think it's going to be a great matchup.
It's the adaptation, the aggression, all of it kind of melding into one to see what exactly you can bring to be able to look at it. So we might as well just go ahead and look at the bands for this one. It's going to be Sandy and Piper this time. So 8-Bit, once again, going to be maybe able to show his face and, well, showcase what he can do in the right hands.
Comunque sì, vi porterò un unboxing.
I think it's smart, though. Again, I'll echo what I said earlier. I think it's smart not to play Sandy. I think there's too much unknown, too much that could happen with where he is as a brawler. So I mind it because I want to see him played at the highest competitive level. Don't mind it from a strategic standpoint. I certainly think it makes sense. But here are your sets for your finals, deciding who your top seed is from Europe going to South Korea.
Being able to start this one out on Bounty, it's going to be, again, a little more scarce every single time we come into Bounty. A lot more risk, I think, in approaching that middle star. And almost nothing to fall back to.
Yeah, we've literally seen a map of almost only grass, and then layer cake, which is, you know,
sarebbero Pam e Frank, mi mancano. Due
And
mitici,
Piper being gone is actually a big
Tara ed
difference maker.
Eugenio,
These big wide open
due
maps is normally where
leggendari,
you would
Spike
see
e
her.
Sandy.
I think Brock maybe makes some sense here to fill into a spot like that, because Bounty is really a kind of stay back, try to poke out the enemy team more. Once we see an opening, if we realize our health is greater than their health, then we'll move in, try to find some kills and get aggressive. So I think it's what do you swap out that Piper for, especially on a map as open as this? is kind of my
poi piano piano
question with
vediamo
these
anche
teams,
perché mi
and
sono
I think
consumato tutti
Brock
i
has
biglietti,
kind of been the
anche perché
flavor of the day.
solitamente appena io ho una cassa la
Just being able to find long range, good damage, poke.
aspettavo di fare i
There's only a few brawlers that will hit all
Ma
three
così.
check marks.
Poi
And like you
vediamo,
said, Brock has
ragazzi.
kind of been the
Vediamo.
secondary, so we'll have to see whether or not he comes through. There's also maybe some discussion, again, there's not a lot of cover, but if you bring any sort of
Comunque,
destruction to this map,
ovviamente,
they have no
se
cover if
volete
you do it
unirvi
properly.
al mio
Yeah,
clan,
that's absolutely something
inviatemi un
to look at as well,
messaggio,
and
non ci vuole
that's something
niente,
Brock
vi
can
rispondo,
provide. I also
però con tutto il cuore, o
maybe
anche se volete farmi
wonder
una
about
semplice partita
throwers
con
on
me.
this map because
Che
Bounty,
avviso,
we saw
non
some tick on
sono
layer cake,
bravissima, ma me la
but it's
capisco,
that
cioè ho più
balance
di
where
6.000
a thrower
coppe.
is much less happy if all of his cover is gone. So if you're fighting into like a Brock and you're playing a Barley or a Tick or something of that nature, and on this map specifically, that little kind of L-shaped grass patch that you're in gets destroyed. Suddenly
Mi
now you're a
raccomando,
thrower fighting out in the middle
voi
of the
che
map with
state
nothing to protect
guardando
you. So it's
questa
a very
live,
kind of intricate pick band
mettete
or
un mi
pick phase
piace a
here as
questo
the teams
video.
jump into it to really decide
Alla
you know,
fine
the
non mi
damage, the
costa
zone
niente,
potential is
giusto?
there if we add a
Oh,
thrower to our
e
composition.
se volete
But if the
anche
thrower is forced
seguite
into an
questo
uncomfortable spot
canale,
way out in
mi
the open, if the environment
fareste
gets
un
destroyed,
grande favore.
then we're at a disadvantage. So
Grazie
picking and
ragazzi.
choosing, especially with the stakes
Dai,
as
tante
high as they are
volte
right now,
così, tanto
ever so
per.
important.
There's a lot that
È
can
giusto,
come
alla
down
fine, è
here. And
giusto.
again,
Io vi
sparse
sto
map,
dedicando,
Bounty,
vi
which
sto facendo vedere un
ordinarily is one of those
contenuto,
modes that
mi
maybe
piace,
because of the
non
way the
costa
maps can be
niente,
laid out,
non,
will force you to get aggressive at the end. Like,
Proprio un
okay, well, we
secondo
got 1,
serve,
2
un
stars
secondo.
maybe
Right.
lead early on, and then we just fell back and let you come into us. This is one that looks like it'll shake out maybe a little different.
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing for all of this is, you know, you having to go
Beh,
through this.
comunque,
We haven't seen PSG
oltre a
get pushed
questo
past
tema di
3
Brawl
of
Stars,
these
volevamo
game modes,
portare
so we'll have to
anche
see if they're going to be
sì,
able to do it.
volevo
We'll
portare
also
anche
have to
altre
see who
cose.
exactly will be able to kind of take the
Perché
lead,
comunque
what
questo
what
canale
brawlers,
non sarà
that they are going to be
soltanto
bringing in
mio,
here
si
to
crede,
Bounty
ma
after this
anche
quick
di
break
altre
while we get things set up.
persone. Quindi poi vediamo, faremo qualche video divertente, eccetera. Poi faremo magari, se mi prestano la PlayStation 4, faremo qualche altro gameplayer di altri giochi. Ah ragazzi, stanno giocando! Oh, replay. Le varie loro partite? PSG? No, adesso non qualche partita, va bene. Sì, comunque ci sarà un contenuto piuttosto vario. Da appena torno nel luogo mio di studio vedremo le varie idee mie, delle mie coinquiline, e faremo qualche video per questo canale. Comunque avevo intenzione anche di, se possibile ovviamente, in base alle persone, appena mi prestano una PlayStation 4 magari fare
We
un
are back now.
tutorial,
In the finals, game 1
gameplay
of
su
Bounty going to be coming through, and again, you can
Life is
see
Strange.
how much this is going to matter. Almost immediately, PSG, they don't
bella
care
partita,
about any
ragazzi.
poke you have, any setup you
Flash,
have. They just ran
PSG
forward and grabbed the star.
And if
That's
I've
awesome.
learned anything from PSG today, it's that they play aggressively, they play fast,
Ragazzi,
and they'll make you think twice about where you're going to position. Grabbing the Mortis here,
Yeah, right.
notably for YTE.
allora chiediamoci che
I think
comunque
it's a good
secondo me,
pick. I mean, if you can get some dive-in mobility as well, especially going against
io Mortis
a
vi
Tick
giuro lo
and a
odio, non lo so
Gene,
usare.
the ability to
Anche
dash,
perché mi è
sometimes you just use it as
da
a
poco,
positioning
io
tool,
ci ho
not even so much
ho giocato qualche
as an
partita con
offensive
lui, ma
primary
non
attack. That right there, being able to dodge out the headhunter,
non
does
riuscendo
jump down a
ad
little bit,
arrivarci
gives
un
Clash the
pochettino
lead
d'accordo,
here.
non ci ho giocato
Magic
poi
Hand
così
as well, just
tanto.
wide. That's a big,
Anche se so che è bravissimo, soprattutto in
Brawl. So an
Brawl.
interesting Mortis pick. Not paying off just yet. We'll see if they can make it work.
That kill onto the Gene there, Chaos as well, going to be
O
able to
Foot Brawl,
extend their
come
lead
volete chiamare.
4-1. Going to be able to need to get in there. Now 3-star bounties on 2 members of Clash that are going to have to come through, and this is determining a lot.
Dai,
that is
dai,
gonna come
ragazzi,
down.
dai,
Whoever can get the, kind of,
ragazzi.
I want to say the first blood. Like if you grab
Yep.
this first set, you just set yourself up for some very good momentum riding forward. Clash, I mean, going essentially from bounty to bounty, feel pretty confident.
God, YDE, I mean, he's at half health right now, but he dodged out like 7 shots from Trebor on the left-hand side. Just something I've noticed. So, you know, not only is Mortis mobile just by nature, I think YDE has some of the best sidesteps I've seen up to this point in this tournament.
Bella ragazzi, bella, ragazzi,
tries to get
vai!
aggressive, doesn't get the kill.
Non ci
He's gonna
credo,
get cleaned
sì,
up
bella,
by that
bella.
headhunter as well.
Yeah.
Great spot for Clash.
The 6-1 lead right now, and well, they're going to be able to put a little bit more on the top there. 8 stars to 1 for PSG, and yes, the answer is that they can in fact be taken down. If you were wondering it, the question is how long that lasts. Again, this team so far today has been very adaptable.
Yeah.
Clash, though, not to take anything away from them.
Comunque sto dicendo
After the immediate aggression to scoop up that first star, they play that wonderfully good positioning. And even with the sidesteps from YDE, who use that Mortis mobility to get in and get out, they had the poking, they had the damage game.
I think that's all it comes down to is you're gambling on the Mortis. And then the thrower kind of conversation that I brought up, the difference between having one and not having one. Volumes, it's a 10-frame Mortis is the only composition difference
stavo
here.
mettendo su questa
And what
mondo
Chaos
ora
is
e
able
non
to
so
do,
benissimo come
effectively
mettere
setting traps, saying, I dare you to move through here.
il gioco
And just chunking
insieme.
out some damage. You know, Tick can be bursty if you drop all
Però
3
con
of your
calma,
primary
piano
attacks in
piano,
one
si
space.
vedrà.
But just chunking down, I walked through a couple of those bombs. My health is now much lower. So I like the addition of the Tick, and I like PSG's adaptation to rotate onto it.
Well, you can see switching it out, YDE this time on the
Poi
tip.
vediamo, poi
Kind of learning their lesson. Yes,
posso
it's
fare
nice
anche
being
per
able to kind of scoop in, swoosh
per
through, and
Beyond,
grab anything and everything that might be in the middle. But this time around,
anche
it's going to be good old-fashioned damage that might make the difference. It's going to be a kill on Tunjinas,
Thrower.
and being able to kind of take this 2-1, as we saw Chaos step forward earlier and grab that middle star. And now PSG kind of get to determine the pace of the game.
And the addition of the Tick speaking volumes
Ragazzi,
here, able to grab that first kill.
Dai.
I mean, if you're
Dai,
copying
dai,
and
ci ho
pasting a
attaccate.
Mortis into this
Ragazzi,
situation,
attaccate.
he's just kind of dancing around back there trying to dodge shots and can't really do anything other than that. If the Mortis isn't jumping in on you, he's kind of not really being all that effective. So a good swap here for YDE, poking out Chaos as well. Nursing a 1-star lead, you're going to start to see Clash move a little bit further forward, and PSG are going to start running out of space.
All the magic hands are going to be available. Headhunter going to get taken down. Chaos still has his up when he decides to throw that out, but the magic hand is always where my eyes go when it comes down to bounty, because that is a free kill if you can grab it. You just have to be able to find it. A lot of damage though, going to be going into the backline of straight 3 for 3 or 2 for 3 there in terms of stars. 3 to 5 now is going to be the score, but they use, well, a lot to be able to find that one. Magic Hand's still available on the side, so positioning is going to be very careful.
May just come down to Magic Hands, as it so often does. 2-star differential.
Piano,
Any kill or at least
piano,
YDE
piano.
will give you the lead for Clash. So I'm sure that's where Gene is looking at on the right-hand side. Skyrex grabs the first. The other one trades out, though, and it's a 4-star differential.
That's going to be a couple of shots. Trevor tries to do whatever he can. He overstays his welcome in the territory of PSG. Now they're going to be able to throw out any and every super they have just to kind of buy themselves some space. Gene's just standing there because he recognizes that they are not in any risk of losing this one. They're going to be able to kind of dance around there happily as they tie this one up. Clash, that switch up, I mean, that Mortis made a huge impact in the first game. And because he wasn't there, was very, very big swing for PSG.
Yeah, massive difference for PSG, and it just kind of dictated this game. Getting the first pull in onto Chaos as well was great there, and Muniz did hit the magic hand onto, you know, a good target there, but it's not enough to really swap the game around entirely, and at this point,
cosa c'è da dire? È una squadra molto forte, non si può dire altro.
PSG, I mean, it's a 4v1 style of team. We saw that.
La realtà.
Must have been, I think it was Heist in our last round, on Sandy Gems, where just got out compositioned in reality, and then immediately pivoted to the same composition.
Dai
and mopped
ragazzi,
the floor
non sprecare
with
coppia
the other team in that case. And it seems like the similar style of thing is happening here. They're going to stick with the Tick. One more mirror matchup to decide the first set.
Chaos, very tempted to get aggressive there.
Dai, raga, mamma mia.
Just getting aggressive with it as well, having a lot of good damage come through. It's not going to be any kills as of yet, but they get the first star. So they keep themselves up. Although so far, I think whoever has grabbed the first star in each of our bounty games for the finals has then lost the bounty game. So if you want to follow that stat, it's definitely
Mamma
looking
mia
good.
ragazzi, dai
Yes, it
ragazzi,
is.
dai che crede in
Moving
noi.
forward, Son Bentley having to stay alive on the left there.
grazie
Trevor gets a
per,
good poke kill. So now it's Clash. We're out in the lead.
il nuovo
Both magic
iscritto.
hands ready to go.
Chiunque
For the
tu sia,
tie for
grazie.
PSG. Actually, some good zoning from YDE as well. And I think both teams at this point are effectively thinking of it as tied. But then at the last, 15, 20 seconds is when PSG will be the
grazie
ones
anche
to
per
dictate the pace. But up to
gli
this point,
ragazzi,
both of
grazie
them
veramente.
just trying to find some poke.
Sky
Mi viene
is taking a lot of
veramente
damage
vinta.
in return there. Magic
Dai,
Hand, as you had mentioned,
dai,
charged up for both
Clash,
sides.
dai.
Trevor has destroyed
Mamma
a lot
mia,
of the
dai,
cover
dai, dai,
that
ragazzi.
PSG had coming into this, so
Yep.
they have to play it a lot more carefully. I mean, the
No.
left-hand side of their zone
Mamma
is
mia.
essentially just gone. Now that they can get aggressive, they have a little bit more to play with, but they're still taking a lot of poke in return.
30 seconds left now.
Bam,
Headhunter out for
preso.
YDE down to about 1,000
Bam.
health. Every health bar for PSG is at half right now, so they're not the ones really dictating momentum here, and could be detrimental as Chaos is in a great spot. So much cover on this
14,
tick.
13,
14 seconds left.
12.
Magic hand for both teams
Ai, ai, ai.
to win the
Piano,
set.
piano.
Well, going to be able to zone a little bit. Trevor throws out his super. We're looking for the Magic Hand to try and fight this. It's
Skyrex.
2-1. You just need a kill 3. 2,
Skyrex.
1
One.
goes the timer, and they're not going to have enough. Just a second too late there.
Grande Clash.
And PSG,
Alright.
even though they tried to at the end, will lose and Clash take first blood
Comunque no, anche
in
il
the
PSG si vede
overarching
proprio
finals.
che sono
first
squadre
blood
di
onto
alti alti.
Oh, and in the
At
battle.
all
Alti
today.
livelli.
I mean, PSG had
Alti
3-0.
ed alti livelli,
Granted,
perché
2 out of
sono
2 only,
spettacolari.
but both of
Ma io
their
proprio non...
quarter and semifinal
La
matchups
finale
are just too poked out.
in
Look
Corea
at how
del
low
Sud,
PSG is here,
ragazzi,
trying
sarà
to move back
bellissima
into
vederla.
Clash. More effective
Sono
poke,
sicura
more
veramente
effective
che sarà
damage
proprio
trades in reality.
emozionante.
One member of Clash was kind of in danger there towards the end, whereas PSG were very much chunked down and needed
già.
that last-ditch effort, so they had to throw themselves in. But
Gem
I don't
grab.
know how much danger Clash were really ever in.
Well, it's going to be Jim Grab here on double swoosh. And so
Beh,
aptly
sicuramente
named because of the
prometteranno-
double swoosh there
Yeah, wait
in
a
the
second.
middle of the
Poggetto.
Where
map.
did that name come from?
It's going to be coming through
Un
for
po'
them. It's
ci
going to look
sta
pretty
sempre
good for these
qua.
teams. And this is where
Poi
PSG, I mean, at
un
this point,
bull comunque è
it's
uno di attacco pesante
not
anche da
uncomfortable.
scegli.
You can see a team reverse
Qualcuno
sweep
attacca
down
anche
from a
di
2-0,
distanza, un po'.
but Jim Grab coming through. First off, I think also the first
Una
time we've gotten Jim
fighter,
Grab
eh.
today.
Yeah, it's been
Questi
too
qua
quick.
io
All the
li
other games have been too quick, so
metterei
first Gem Grab, yeah.
So it'll be impactful for them, I think, on top of that,
Vediamo
to
cosa-
try and win
cosa
this
sceglieranno
quote-unquote
PSG
fresh game mode, since it's the first time we're seeing it
Clash.
today, but also at least tie it up. Going
Yeah.
down 2-0 is just an
Secondo me cosa
uncomfortable spot to
sceglieranno,
be. You can't
ragazzi,
fight back and win 3-0, 3 in a row. We've seen them do it several times today. It's just
sicuramente
fighting
un
from that
poggio
deficit, having that pressure on,
secondo
the
me
Clash could just
è
win
sicuro,
and
se
take
no
that
tutte le
first seed
squadre
away from
metteranno
you.
un poggetto.
It's a lot to deal with for 3 games.
I mean, not that,
Dici
any
perché
of
un
this
poggetto?
is
Perché in effetti in
small
realtà
in
ci
the
sta,
finals, but this
ci
is,
sta un
as you
poggetto,
point out, a
ragazzi.
very big one for Clash, I think. To go up 2-0 over PSG, you have some wiggle room there. You're not playing quite as backs against the wall or quite as nervous. You realize, yeah, we might be able to
Dai,
lose
Jim
this
Grab.
one. Come back, win the next one. Of course,
Yeah.
they won't want to have that
Voi-
mentality. Let's just win the next one and be
Aspetta
done
voi.
with it.
Chi
But
ti fate?
a
Chi ti
big
fate?
difference
Ditemi.
between 2-0 and 1-1.
Yeah.
So I think Clash are going to look to come out
PSG
aggressively here in this
o
game.
Clash?
The double swoosh is actually somewhat interesting. You get a lot of frontliners
Chi
in this one.
ispira
'Cause you
in
can-
questo momento?
it's not
Avete
really
visto
even
le varie
my team
partite,
versus
credo,
enemy
no?
teams.
Oggi.
Bush, like there's an entrance to
Ispira,
both on
mi
either
ispira.
side, and
Yeah.
it's a
Chi
lot of
vorreste
close
in
range.
Corea?
Maybe you throw a Rosa in
Chi
there,
vorreste
maybe
al
BB
primo
goes out
posto?
as well.
Oggi.
In the grass, ever so important on this map.
Oh.
Are going to get the BB as well as G,
BB.
Magic Hand. In these kind of collecting game modes,
E cosa?
Magic Hand is important to have on your side,
Cosa?
but only Clash has it. You're going to pick the bow for some extra grass visibility.
Bibi, Eugenio.
And some poke, I guess, as they grab the first blood in the first couple of games.
Ragazzi, io non...
Was going to be
Vabbè.
able to get a kill onto the spike there.
Secondo me,
PSG looking
io almeno in
pretty
questa
good
mappa
now.
io
A little bit
gioco
of a lead.
sempre.
Minas
C'è un
was
po',
able
io
to
un
get back
poggetto
with
lo
one gem,
adoro
but
sempre in questa
only
mappa
the
perché
one gem as of
comunque è
right now.
sempre utile.
And a little bit of focus. Interesting, as you had noted, to see.
No, secondo me
the
sono in
bow coming
vantaggio
through.
loro anche perché comunque
More
ci
interesting to see how
sta,
aggressive
c'è
YDE was getting.
Rosa
Kind of
che
walls
fa
maybe too
male,
far there.
chiariamoci,
But it's still
no?
going to be 5
he doesn't have
gems
the ammo.
on top of Bentley here. couple of good shots are going to keep him alive and out of there. He's staying safe, and I think this positioning is kind of why he wanted to be Bo.
Yeah, the kind of direct damage poke.
Cioè,
Good grab
c'è
from
un
Eunice
casino
there,
di vita,
but
ragazzi.
I think he was missing one ammo charge to finish off the kill, and that would have really turned things around. A 5-gem drop would have had them in the lead 8-0. So small moments paying off big there. YDE wins that left-hand side engagement as Trevor wins the right. And now you're going to have Gene under little to no duress moving forward, but you know there's a BB somewhere, honestly kind of behind you.
Well, where these gyms are spawning, how easy they are to grab. It's disappearing. Bentley destroyed a good chunk of the middle of the map there for Clash, so it's very difficult to get back in. 2 neutral gyms. All right, 7-4. 3 neutral gyms now. Pick up that last one, and it's going to be a tie game here. Clash are kind of in control.
Uccidetela,
midfield,
bravi.
The neutral zone, the area
Siete dei miti.
now, if you're this Bo, if you're Bentley, you're starting to feel the pressure is on.
Ragazzi, dai!
There's one more gym. They could go up 9-7.
That's what they're looking for here. Chaos gets very far forward. YDE is going to win this engagement just on a damage basis.
Drop.
It is big. There's 8 on the ground. They still have 2. So
That's
get
gonna
themselves to
10.
10.
8-10, ragazzi, difendete ragazzi, dove andate? Dove andate che... Ne può soltanto una, basta ragazzi, correte giù, correte!
I mean, being able to come in, they're going to look for a kill, and they find a kill, but it's not going to be on the target they need. They need to get aggressive here. 8 gyms, 3 gyms, but it's not going to happen. In fact, they end up losing their Rosa in the process. That is going to be big. I mean, just kind of controlling it, even though they lost a lot of their cover, even though they were, admittedly, it felt like on the back foot for a lot of that. Clash maintained control and keep themselves ahead.
Yeah, and it was kind of an interesting mix, the bow for the spike. And, like, spike kind of paid off in dividends for Clash in this case. You know, he is
hanno rischiato perché comunque vedi, voleva prendersi l'ultimo.
A good chunk on those primary attacks. You're melting down a Rosa.
Anche se gliela lasciavano, si difendevano per la stessa cosa, perché comunque non poteva rischiare.
It was all pretty much done and dusted from that point on.
Non c'era il tempo.
The bow is an interesting choice. I think if you're able to move forward and find those direct lines of sight, it's a great pick. Get more consistent straight-on damage. But just for kind of probing, toss out a spike shot here with curveball. It's going to spin. I don't know where they are, but it's probably going to hit him. I know they're somewhere over here, whereas Bo needs like a... He does have a little bit of a fan.
Dai, bellissime partite comunque, piene proprio di emozioni. Piene di emozioni, ragazzi.
And not as potent, I think, damage-wise. We saw a couple of times where it
Eccoci
maybe
qua
made
di
the big
nuovo.
difference. Clash is just going to run this back. We'll have to see. PSG do switch it up a little bit now. Okay. They're going to be running Shelly down the side. Already half health there. It's 1-1 in terms of gyms.
I mean, they're selling out at this point for grass control with that Shelly. And I mean, I think it's good. Less Chaos is able to trade out better. BB Bubble winning the day here. Skyrix is going to be able to trade out, but you get 3 gems on your Gene versus 1 on the enemy. Clash is feeling good here. You know there's a Shelly really close by.
Attenzione, c'è Shelly che...
BB versus Shelly engagements on this right-hand side I think are going to be very important throughout this game. Great bounce. Nearly to set up a kill. Now mid-control back to PSG.
Couple of good spawns there, being able to at least try and tie this up, and actually with that kill, should be able to switch things over in favor of PSG. They're going to be taking the lead 5-3, but we've seen how quickly that can change. They do have, well, both magic hands available in the game right now, which on the right target is a nice swoop of gems. YDE, I love the aggression that YDE's been playing with, because a lot of it isn't for anything other than to just cause you distress. It is going to be stressful having someone back there dealing that much damage. Magic hand, I believe, he grabs on the Chaos. Well, Trevor going down there makes it a 2 versus 2.
Oh,
the
nice.
Chaos
That's going to be a big swing.
Still in a good position.
Oh, didn't have the ammo. Magic hand used out there. You're going to have 10 gems, and there's not nearly going to be enough on this last mid.
Ma quella BB,
13 seconds left to kite backwards and get them a 2-0 lead over PSG.
Ragazzi, ma quella BB che ha combinato?
There, a lot of poke
Ma io non ho
is hurting
parole,
them
non ho
and making
parole.
it incredibly difficult for them to do anything. Chaos even going to jump in and fight for this one, as he's going to be able to kind of come through. 6 gems on him. Trevor with the other 4 being able to kind of carry I'm sorry, Munis with the other 4 being able to kind of carry those together. A lot of poke, a lot of damage, and a lot of control and Clash. That was
we've been gassing up PSG all day today, and then, you know, maybe we've only seen a small example out of Clash, but these are your you know, 2 of your higher seed, PSG being 1, Clash right up there as well. Good space control. I didn't mind the Shelly pick. I still don't. But just much better trades, just damage-wise. Not even kill-wise, but Chaos, through that damage reduction, was able to mitigate a lot of the Shelly damage. Knock her back, force her a little bit further back at range. More times than not, you're going to have your bubble charged up. So BB, kind of in a weird way, with that damage reduction star power, kind of counters out Shelly. I mean, you move in, she might trade out a little bit on you, but you get a big swing, good damage chunk, get that bubble, follow it up. Takes advantage of it, grabs game mode number 2.
Well, Clash are coming up 2-0 right now. Potential to close it all out here on Heist as we go into pit
Che
stop.
emozioni, siamo già
So much
2-0
coming
ragazzi.
through. Rico
Basta
actually
questa
not uncommon
vittoria
on this
e li
map as
mandiamo a
well.
casa.
So
Li
maybe
mandiamo
seeing
veramente a
a
casa.
couple of switch ups and brawlers. But this
Mamma
is
mia, anche se
pressure on if you're
è davvero
PSG. I mean, you lose it,
Trevor giusto
you lose that number 1 spot.
è
Clash
bravissimo,
takes it even though they're coming down from,
Clash in
I would say,
generale
maybe
sono-
the quote
sono
unquote
micidiali.
unfavored portion of the bracket down lower. They're looking really solid right now.
Yeah, they absolutely are. And you bring up Rico. I think BB as well has a spot on this map. Throwers as well. If you're not going to try to open up that space, which caters to something like a bull, you might want to use the bull super,
Dai,
charge right on through, get some good
non vedo
damage there.
l'ora,
Rico has the ability, those red kind of fences on the left and right, you get some good bounce damage. If you leave the tires intact, you get some good bounce damage off that as well. Long open lanes, maybe have some Brock, maybe a little extra poke on
Ragazzi,
your
non
team.
vedo l'ora, non vedo
But
l'ora.
again, as we've seen, it kind of comes down to just how your team wants to play. You can run
la
a
squadra
Primo, Bull, BB
livelli
composition,
eccessi, livelli eccessi.
dive on the safe time after time after time, and find yourself a
Siamo molto
winner.
più sulla
We'll be able
difensiva,
to
non
come through.
siamo
We'll see
qua
what
come
these
giocatori a
teams decide to run.
rischiare
Does come down. We also have an 8-bit
molto più
join us. It's been a little
tattica.
while since we've seen him banned
Molta
out
più
for a little bit of the
tattica.
day. Primo, Bull, BB, just a full-on, we're going to run it down and, well, deal as much damage as we can until our health disappears.
Aia, 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 aia.
I guess
Morto.
PSG agree with me, and they're going to win these trades,
Vedo male,
especially with an
vedo
8-bit
male,
when you're that
ragazzi,
close, and he
ma-
doesn't have his damage boost. Big important moments
Ma il
here
primo
for
regale,
PSG. If you're only
Ricciotto,
able
com'è
to get
bello il primo
5%
regale.
onto
Cioè, la skin è
onto the
bellissima,
mids,
ma
it's
è
not
mo-
going to really be that ideal. You have 81%. Clash able to defend, though. That was a full-on aggression there from PSG, and they were only able to get about 19, and now Clash get to try their hand at doing some damage.
Boom.
One of the things we haven't mentioned as they're getting aggressive here, Chaos and kind of diving deep, is, I mean, we've mentioned his name a few times, Bentley. Son Bentley up there moving around on the bull this time around. Kind of switching in for one of the more prominent players we've
Twisty
seen
Twig, right?
today.
I was wondering
Sono
where that
stati
swap
cattivi
was. And
Clash
yeah,
in realtà,
it's great that
ragazzi,
you bring
sono
that
stati
up,
molto
because that is
cattivi,
a
molto.
big difference. Twisty Twig was kind of the highlight guy that we kept bringing up in a lot of those PSG games. I mean, they qualified for Worlds, so they're going to Korea. It's the 1 versus 2 seed now that you're fighting for. That's some great
12, mamma
BB
mia.
damage. 27 to 12% though down the stretch.
Being able to come through, 27 to 10, or to 12, and it's going to be a little bit more damage. One more shot from Chaos is going to go through, but it's not going to be enough. That's going to be some aggression. YDE in the proper position, the right time. Is going to be able to take this one here for PSG. Keep themselves alive and afloat right now in this set.
Yeah, and you need to stay alive and afloat. I mean, again, both of these teams have
Comunque,
qualified.
grazie
But if anything else, PSG has shown how important
grazie di tutto,
a higher seed
ragazzi.
can be. They had technically an easier route
Yeah.
through the rest of this bracket,
Perché
whereas Clash
grazie?
ran into a little bit more
Non si può
resistance.
mai sapere quando finisca, può
The
essere che
full-on aggression
anche
composition, I think, for
in
PSG is a
effetti
big
questo
difference
è
maker.
due round,
The 8-bit was
quindi
able to win some
ora
trades
Clash.
kind of in the mid once that damage amplification was out. But in general, with an 8-bit, if a Primo supers on you, or if a Bull supers on you, or a
Questo c'è
BB
Brawl
gets within range
Ball
of
e
you,
poi
you're not going to win those trades. So it's kind
quello
of
brutta,
a
serio.
playstyle counter that PSG brought. And now that maybe Clash look to change around to try to seal up the finals with a couple wins.
It's all about, again, adaptation. That's the biggest thing, I think, is as you go from map to map playing these game modes, you have to know what brawlers are going to give you those advantage, which ones are going to give you that disadvantage. And with as much health as they had, I mean, Primo,
Ragazzi,
Bull,
mi raccomando,
we've seen be
seguitemi
incredibly
e vedrete che
prominent
piace a questo
throughout a
video.
lot of
Non vi
these.
costa niente,
And now the question is going to be,
state
do you run it back if you're PSG? I mean, it worked pretty well for you that time around. So you maybe
Mamma
look at
mia,
that, or
ragazzi,
are
chi
you maybe
attesa,
looking
chi
for some more
attesa,
throwers or something different?
manca poco.
Oh, well, no,
I think you
how
run
about
it
you just
back.
get the mirror match?
I was gonna say, I think you run it back, and I think Clash need to change up as well. It's good if you're kind of in a poke versus poke. You know, if they ran a Rico for PSG, the 8-bit might have looked a little bit better. But PSG was kind of dictating the pace of that game, and now Clash are going to look to do the same. That's going to get some BB bounces onto the safe, 4% to be exact.
Grazie ragazzi, comunque per tutto,
Bentley
veramente.
trying to come in and do some damage as well.
Yeah.
Able to get a little bit there, 82 to 96. On the other side, PSG definitely have a, well, not significant lead, but enough that they are comfortable up at the top. A kill right there.
Ragazzi,
He's left alone. He's just going to be running down. It's going to be a little bit of a base race to get some damage down. How much poke can you go through? Trevor gets dealt with. YDE does not. So it's 77 to 69, but they're still in a prime position, a primo position, if you want to call it, to be able to come through and get a lot of damage. And they're rushing this one down.
They're gambling that they're going to be able to do more damage than they are. Trevor is going to run through. Wait, that's going to be a big BB bubble. It's not going to matter. PSG now win 2 straight and bring this one to a 2-1.
Ragazzi,
being able to find that, keeping themselves again afloat through all of this means that we at least get to see Brawl Ball, which will be the next one. But I mean, that was
PSG are good at Brawl Ball.
That was we're going to take up, bulk up if you want, and just rush it. See if you can stop us. You don't have the damage anymore to do it, and so we can just stay here.
And notice this entire time, Clash is missing a member because they do have somebody on the PSG side doing damage. But PSG called them on that gamble and said, all right, we're just going to send all 3 to your base. Not only do we have more damage at that point, but we're going to be able to win the trade 3 versus 2. So we're going to, you know, eliminate your defenders and do more safe damage. And they certainly did that. Big win there for PSG to keep them alive in the finals.
So we go to triple dribble now as it comes through. You can notice a lot more cover, not only just in kind of the neutral zone around the ball itself, but for the defense. There's a certain point where if you break through, it's wide open. This is one where I'm not unused to seeing Shelly come through, only to get rid of those kind of 3 barrels that divide the goal in a nice wide open area.
Yeah, the difference maker often is if one team drafts somebody like a Shelly, drafts somebody like a Primo, a Bull to open up those 3 barrels. I mean, puns aside, the entire map is open at that point. It wasn't a pun, it was something. But at any rate, the mid of that map is just so much more open at that point. And if your team has it and the enemy team doesn't, it's a huge swing in momentum.
And that's, I think, the biggest question to look at. I mean, again, you saw PSG earlier, and they had no issue when it came down to Brawl Ball. Passing was perfect from them and being able to kind of thread the needles to end it. I mean, one of them ended in, what, a minute? Maybe less? Like, they got a goal within 16 seconds. So that's kind of the team you're going up against. Whereas you look towards Clash, it was a little more rough, a lot more contested. Overtime both teams that came through, and it's a little riskier, I think, to come through. This is a good chance for PSG to tie this up.
Yeah, I'm looking at Poco here as well. We bring up a lot of different brawlers. I think Poco is in a really good spot. On Brawl Ball specifically, keeping your team members healthy and alive, because more so than really any other game mode, just a one-kill advantage is so much more impactful in Brawl Ball because you only need 2 goals to win, and sometimes 1 kill is enough to do it. You are going to get yourself some Poco.
I mean, we've even seen it with no kills being able to get you a goal. You can thread the needle properly. You can potentially kind of swing it through. BB on both sides, potentially going to be big. Chaos swinging huge against Poco on the other side.
Mamma mia, ragazzi.
And there is going to be a Shelly.
Mamma mia,
Shelly Bentley this time around going to get taken down. So it's not going to be able to open up as much of the map, but you can already see some destruction happening for Clash's defense.
It's a good bounce there. Chaos hits a few off the wall, gets the kill onto YDE. And Bentley, the only one with kind of automatic destruction in this game mode. So I bring up the advantage of having that on your side. If they move far enough into Clash's base and start to use that Shelly super, it's going to be great. Another great series of bounces for Chaos. Buys himself some space, looks for the shot, but it just bounces off the box.
Just a narrow miss for that one, but it's going to be able to stay alive. The ball shot off into the corner. Chaos in possession of it, going to be able to make a throw for it. But with 1 kill, with 2 kills there now picked up for Clash. This is going to open it. They're looking for the pass potentially. They're going to be playing distraction. The middle. A nice pass, and they walk it in.
Wow.
Ramirez to be able to find themselves 1 goal.
And what a pass that was. The difference of having the spike and the BB kind of in combination is big here. for Clash, where Sun Bentley has to move himself much further forward to find effectiveness. Chaos can walk in. The extra poke from Muniz as well is buying Clash so much space.
Bentley in that awkward limbo of at 500 health and surrounded by the enemy. There's no way
distruggeteli, dai, che ho già segnato il primo gol.
Slightly
they could just
off
defend if
of
they
the
wanted.
middle line. Yeah, I mean, for 40 seconds, that's all you have to hold on to, and you can absolutely win this one. Depends on what kind of zone you want to stay in. Does kind of keep your fingers warm as you keep playing. Keep you warmed up, potentially, depending on how it goes for PSG. Keeps you warmed up for a siege, or keeps you in the lead for now. I mean,
Trevor's
immediate
free and clear
possession
here.
into
Trevor
The respawn's gonna be in time.
domination. He's going to make the shot.
No, non ci credo, non ci credo, ragazzi. L'ha parata all'ultimo. Che parata, ragazzi. Cioè, non ho parole.
Not much environment left on your side. 10 seconds left for PSG to tie.
Well, Shelly's going to be in possession of the ball. Does make a throw, but it's right to Trevor. He's going to kick that one off. 4 seconds left. That's done and dusted. YDE going to throw it to Sky, but there's only so much you can do. There's 2 bodies standing in front of that goal. Clash going to strike first for Brawl Ball. Put themselves one more potential Brawl Ball win away from being able to secure first seed here and move on as the high seed coming out of Europe.
That's right, and I think the Shelly's still a good pick. I still think it's good for Sun Bentley, but it's just unfortunate that it goes into the Spike, who was really much more comfortable in this game. Shelly had to play so much further forward than he did.
Ma che emozione, ragazzi.
You can chunk down good bits of damage. I mean, if Shelly is
Io non
able
ho
to
parole, ma che
fully get on
emozione.
top of the Spike with full ammo charge, she's going to delete him, as she does with most other brawlers in the game. But Spike has the ability to kite backwards, throw out some primary attacks, chunk down Shelly just a little bit, likely charge up his super in that
ragazzi,
time.
veramente, non me
It's just
l'aspettavo.
much harder for Sun Bentley to have a big impact. Did clear out some space.
Non devo dire grandi, veramente grandi. Basta.
Good passing even. You can see a little bit of that.
Giuro,
Sometimes it's a
voglio che
brute force
vincano,
play.
voglio che
Sometimes it's a good
vincano,
pass
è inutile
play.
negarlo.
This time it was the latter.
And I mean, we got, I want to say maybe even a little bit of both, just because like, we didn't get the kills, but it was just kind of the pass into, okay, I'm just going to run at them now, see what they can do with it. And, well, the answer is nothing. PSG were able to stop that one. I think it all does fall down to, I mean, you had these phenomenal games earlier. Does that come through Twisty Twig? Is that really what the difference maker is right here? Or is this the, like, qualified, you know, like, we're going to be there. We don't have to give it our all. Like Clash, I mean, you know, they're looking phenomenal, so it's also a remarkable force that you have to withstand through this with a switched player.
I agree. I think that these are probably the 2 teams that I would have on paper going towards the end of this one that probably would have met themselves in the final. So I'm not surprised to see these 2 going at it. I still think PSG were the team to beat. They are going to pivot back to the Carl. They found some success on the Carl earlier. I think this is another map where he can do well, especially when you get the DR with your super spinning away. You can kind of play that frontline role, you can play the poke role, and Sun Bentley already making it work.
And depending on how this damage comes through, I mean, 4,000 health still available to him with no healing. As you had mentioned earlier when we had seen him. Little tankier overall, some good damage as well, good control. He throws out his hammer to get some of that damage coming through. He's going to come swinging around, looking to knock around anyone and everyone that gets in his way. The ball lined up right at the goal there, but Clash are going to be able to kick it away. Sun Bentley passes it over to Sky. Sky, it's wide open.
Non ci credo,
Finds
non ci
himself a
credo.
goal.
Non ci
PSG
credo.
are up 1-0.
Ce li hanno
Right,
distrutti,
close
mamma
range
mia.
cleave damage wins that round for PSG. Sun Bentley, a big difference maker on this Carl. They just have way too much damage here. It's a 3 versus 2 on defense. They might just be able to brute force this one in.
I mean, the ball hovering right there. Chaos in a kind of awkward position. A little bit of damage from Bentley, but he's going to be the one that goes down. A second kill onto Sky is going to open this up. Trevor, possession of the ball, going to bring that one back to the halfway point. Shoot it over towards PSG's side. Now with a couple more kills, maybe without even a couple more kills with the amount of zone they have on it, they could potentially shoot this ball in, tie this up.
Oh, YDE for PSG used his kind of knockback. That was what they were waiting for on Clash, for the BB to use the full home run swing, knock back, dismount the ball. Timed it out just perfectly. One more goal for Clash puts them as your #1 seed in South Korea.
A lot of pressure for them to make this work. They have possession of the ball, keeping it safe in the back, looking to charge up some supers right now. 40 seconds left on the clock before overtime might happen here. Trevor unfortunate bounce as the ball go into possession of YDE. Bentley going to be able to get 2 kills right there. PSG looking to walk this one in. They find the shot, they find the score, and they tie this one up as it comes through. Right. Still gonna be Brawl Ball, still only 1 away. The Clash, the fire's been lit underneath them. PSG not going down without a fight.
Yeah, this is close. We said PSG are going to have to win 3 straight, and they've done it once. Now knocking on the door of their second straight win. Could push us to a 5th set of 5th game mode here. I think the Carl's a big difference maker in that game. The one goal that Clash scored was kind of an ineffective super from Sun Bentley. Got absolutely blown up by Chaos. But when those Carl supers were hitting, like they are right now, you can effectively delete one member of the enemy team and move forward to the second. When you're playing that close to barricades, it's kind of an intricate Carl mechanic where you throw out the boomerang, and as soon as it hits a wall, it turns around. So if you're fighting close enough to a wall, you can effectively spam your primary attack and get the to and from damage onto the enemy. And Sun Bentley was able to do that a few times throughout the end there. So I like the Carl pivot. We'll have to see if they elect to stay with it or if Clash maybe try to counter it out. It's now the adaptation that decide if we're going one more.
Yeah, again, a lot of the damage that Carl was able to accomplish opened up space for them. Almost made that victory possible.
Yep.
So we'll have to see. I can't imagine trying to pull away too far from that one. But the discussion, I mean, looking around, map destruction, first map, it was there. Second map, they just ignored it for the second time in the Brawl Ball. So a lot of that maybe kind of getting thrown to the wayside for what you know best. But it is not going to be. This time he's going to switch over to Primo, which admittedly opens up a lot of space just on his own.
Mamma mia.
He's not going to win too many of these initial trades with Chaos. The knockback obviously gets Primo out of range, but right there, if you have the backup from the rest of your team, you're going to be fine. 3 versus 1 on defense. Absolutely goal number 1 for PSG. Talk about brute force. They got it in spades.
Keep themselves alive here. They're going to need 1 to tie, 2 minutes left. They are known for being able to end this about as fast as they can. The ball going to be in possession of Muniz. It's going to be a kill onto YDE. Nice little bounce coming through for some damage. And they're opening this one wide up. Primo's going to be in position to try and stop him. They're just going to walk it in, tie it up. 1:40 left on the clock for the next spawn of the ball. And it is anyone's game.
Either we're going to a segnano ragazzi, se segnano ragazzi. Going to South Korea. They get the first trade here. Good knockback from Muniz as well. Ball in an unfortunate spot for Clash. So finally now starting to clear it. YDE looking for the kill onto Chaos, excuse me. Doesn't find it here. Both teams in kind of a reset.
A lot of destruction on the side of Clash's defense, though. They are going to have a lot to deal with. If Bentley can get a kill here or at least open it up, it might make a bigger difference. A lot that has disappeared here, but YDE, Sky left to defend. Trevor going for the ball. They're creating a good zone for him. He could be able to run this up on the left, but no, shoots it back into the corner as they lose a little bit of their pressure. And YDE in a good position to maybe run forward. That ball, it's out of the way, but still precariously placed.
Yeah, Muniz has destroyed so much of his own base this time, just trying to find some kills.
Dai ragazzi, dai, mamma mia, mamma mia.
They're going to be in a great spot. Not a lot of environment, but a huge bubble from Chaos may have just saved the game.
Wow, ragazzi, che parata, ma che parata.
And a nice little grab from Trevor. They take a shot, he grabs it, throws it back just to make sure it stays out of commission. The ball on the side of PSG. Sky taking a lot of damage. 1 to 2 kills here could absolutely demolish this. Really good bounces on that one. The damage is going to be good. 600 health left. Bentley's going to get taken down. That bounce almost connects. Sky is down in the back. The ball in the corner. They're going to need this.
Non ci credo ragazzi.
Right now.
6, 5,
5, 4, 3, 2, 1 goes the clock. Overtime's going to tick through for these teams. And the ball in a prime position for Clash to potentially take advantage of it.
This is 100% just trades. No environment. The team with the 3 versus 2 advantage is going to be able to pass the ball to the side. Maybe find themselves a first goal. Clash getting aggressive first. YDE down so low here. Muniz trying to finish off some kills. QLS shoots it in. They grab themselves to win. And they're your first seed team from Europe.
And just finding a great shot there at the end to be able to seal the deal. They move forward. Both teams will be going, but Clash are going to be your number 1 seed here. And I mean, that one down to the wire. where it comes down to it. I mean, you had mentioned
guardate,
trades
mamma.
galore. That is what matters most.
Non
And
parole.
it was incredibly close. I mean, right there was that moment. I think you might see
Wow,
Muniz be able to kind
ragazzi, che
of grab
partita.
that and
Che
still find a
partita che
defense. But that was a
rimonta,
kind of
che
last-ditch
rimonta.
shot there for PSG.
What a play and
Yeah.
nothing else. Clash grabbed
Oh, yeah.
themselves $1,500 as a team.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. I'm flying over to South Korea. Got some pocket change as well to enjoy myself out there.
2-1.
And Muniz, look how aggressive he was able to play
Bellissima Picciotti,
sort of towards the
bellissima
end of this
partita.
game. This is your overtime period. Chunked out YDE just getting pinballed around. And
It's
this
super.
right here, the
Mamma
beautiful
mia,
bubble from
ragazzi,
Chaos.
che gol,
Chaos,
che gol,
BB,
che c'è da dire.
stand out for
Che
me
c'è da dire.
today. The BB performance effectively on every map where she was viable, which was pretty much everything.
Comunque
for
dai
Clash
ragazzi,
throughout
è
the
stata
day.
bellissima,
Chaos surprised me. The BB
Clash
bubbles
ha
finding the
vinto,
perfect ricochets,
che altro dire?
timing those swings properly, knowing
Ci si vede
just
alla
how aggressive
prossima.
to